It is now 6:30, March 24th, 2026, and we are starting our regular city council meeting. If we can all have welcome our guests that we have here today. We have Jorge Carmona and Leliana Emmons. Did I get it right? All right. They are here to do the pledge, so if you please can come up here. Everyone, can you please stand and remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, turn around. Face the flags, remember? Okay, so on y'all's go, and we'll follow right in behind you, okay? All right, just like we talked about.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. All right, real quick, Colin's going to take your picture.
Gotta scoot over.
Thank you. Good job. All right, now if everyone can please remain standing for the invocation, we're going to have Pastor Bernie Jackson.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we come before you this evening, God, thanking you and acknowledging you that you still, God, have all power of heaven and earth in your hands. We come before you tonight, God, asking for your grace and your mercy to heal your land, God. Lead us and guide us and show us how we're supposed to love and how we're supposed to treat one another. Help us in the name of Jesus, God, as we stand before this council and the staff of the city, that we might not always agree, God, but help us in the name of Jesus to disagree respectfully. Help us to be a part of the growth and the good things that are happening in this town. Help us to remember that another generation is looking at us and how we're processing who we say we are in you. We thank you, God, for the city manager and for the staff that do the work of all the building that is going on in this town. But God, we thank you for these dedicated servants who have put their lives in a place where they come to serve us. Help us, God, to be in places where we can volunteer, where we can assist. And whatever it is we're doing, God, let us do it to the glory and honor of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and for the benefit of one another. In the name of Jesus, God, we thank you. Amen.
He gave us a hefty amen in the front. I like that. All right. Now we're going to go through our regular reports. Have the mayor's report here. Just a couple of brief things. First and foremost, tonight, I don't know where the link is, but our high school soccer team is in the playoffs. They're playing in the second round tonight in Bryan. So let's go Bears soccer. Also, on the thing of youth sports, I was fortunate enough to be invited to do throw out the first pitch at the opening ceremonies for the Bastrop Little League last Friday. The 13th, sorry. But it was pretty cool for me to be able to do it as a kid who played on the Little League fields. Just never thought I'd be in that position. And so it was fun warming up with the kids and then throwing out that first pitch. After that, we had the groundbreaking for the parks. I'm sure, council members are going to give their little highlights, so I won't take up that time. We had just an enjoyable time in the community. We're finally getting some warm weather around. There's going to be lots of activities going on. So please be on the lookout for those things. Let's see here. Councilmember Fossler.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for finding a parking space and filling City Hall. How fun. I wanted to tell you about 2 regional events I participated in the past few weeks. Last week, we had a meteorologist luncheon for all the local meteorologists. It was hosted by the Clean Air Coalition and the Clean Air Force, and we presented the Air Central Texas Awards for people in the region who've been making a considerable difference in our air quality around the region, because air doesn't know county lines. So we work together as a region, as a 10-county collaborative to work on clean air. Also, I spent the last, how many hours was it? 18 hours with the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee in Capcog in Austin, and we got to listen to grant applications from 58 applicants, and these were the categories: violence against women, general victim assistance, youth diversion, juvenile justice, and criminal justice. Those were the categories where people from all over the region came to ask for money from the Office of the Governor, and we got to award that money. And I'd like to give compliments to Lieutenant McManus from Bastrop Police Department. He came to present and get interviewed for a grant application for the Bastrop Police Department. It was very well received, so thank you for that. And then lastly, I just want to tell you all about Walking Day. National Walking Day is Wednesday, April 1st. There's going to be walks all over town starting at 8 o'clock in the morning at Fisherman's Park, all the way to, I think the last one is at 6:30 p.m. There's a few new ones this year because we have so many new bird sculptures up and down Chestnut. There's going to be a bird sculpture walk at 4:30, and I'll be doing my usual farm walk at Edenise Farms at 9 a.m. But there's a full schedule that'll be up on the city's website of where you can walk around with different community members and learn about different parts of town. And lastly, Happy Easter. We're not going to see y'all again until Easter, till after Easter, so Happy Easter. That's all I got.
Thank you, Councilmember Fossler. Councilmember Plunkett.
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out last week at downtown. We had a great turnout for St. Patrick's Day. Everybody had a great time, and glad to see a nice, vibrant downtown for our holidays. So appreciate that, and I'll yield back the rest of my time as usual.
Now, you gave us a little bit more than usual, so we appreciate it. Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything tonight. We have a really long agenda, just trying to conserve time.
Yeah, well, I'm not even, anyhow, we're going to continue to give y'all our reports, y'all. Y'all deserve this. So, Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, what I'm going to do is learn how to be an auctioneer so I can give my report in like 10 seconds. But tonight I'm going to make it fast. I only have a few things to say. I want to mention the mayor was right. The 4 parks that we did groundbreaking for were amazing. So I can't wait for you all to be able to enjoy that. It's going to be Mayfest, Delgado, Fireman's, and then at Fisherman's, we're actually going to recycle the water that's used as a splash pad. So no more million gallons of water down the drain. So that's great. That's super exciting. Also, we had the First Watch opening, which was exciting. So that's our new business that we can all spread out and enjoy. I really want to mainly thank the firefighters and all of our emergency management team for fighting the spring pine fire. As we all know too well as a community, how scary it can be when we see smoke, when we see those helicopters with carrying the water, and can't thank the firefighters and all of emergency management, our police, for doing a phenomenal job and keeping us out of harm's way. So thank you so much for that.
Councilmember Meyer, can we stop and give those firefighters an applause, please? Thank you.
Yes, that's first and foremost, number one on my report. But I just want you to know about a couple of things coming up. Mayor mentioned tonight, the game starts at 7 o'clock for the BHS soccer team, so that's super exciting. Tomorrow, you can go to the museum from 12 to 1 o'clock. It's Lunch and Learn, and it's the women from Bastrop County during World War II and the part they played during World War II. So it'll be very interesting. Take your lunch, learn, and enjoy the museum. They've got some great exhibits going on. And the other thing I want to say is don't forget about our 1832 Farmers Market right across the street on Saturdays from 10 to 2. There are amazing vendors there. They're just, you can't even understand how great it is until you go and see what they have to sell. And just such a great community at the Farmers Market. So please support them. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Meyer. Councilmember Lowe?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I wanted to bring up the groundbreaking as well. That was a nice, exciting milestone. It was not about just construction, but it's about high-quality spaces where families can gather. So I really enjoyed doing that and being a part of that. It was in the South End on the Peterson Reservation down here on the end. The mayor joined me as well. And we did there was a fifth annual picnic that they normally have there, and they did establish the Alcee and Dorothy Peterson Foundation, so that'll ensure a legacy of service that'll continue to impact our city. Beyond our borders, I also participated in South by Southwest this weekend. Didn't do it on 6th Street, thank God. It was on North Lamar, so we actually could park and actually have a good time. Also to Art and Identity in the South End. On the creative front, I'm thrilled to announce a call for artists for new murals and design in the South End District. Public art defines our sense of place, so I just can't wait to see how our talented artists respond to that and what we get back from that. And then finally, I want to encourage each of you to stay involved, whether it's attending a council meeting or reviewing our city's financial reports. Your voice is essential to our success. And our door is always open, so make sure you always give us a call for anything that you need. If you have any questions about anything, just come to us. We don't bite. We'll give you the straight facts. If we don't know, we'll find out. But most important, we're going to be honest with you, okay? So that's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Lowe. Thank you, council members, for a great report. All right, on to agenda item 4C, City Manager's Report.
Mayor, I'll try to keep it brief. I know we have a long agenda. So the one thing that was listed on the report, and that was a request by the council to bring back information on a Tri-City or a regional economic development plan. The others are standing information sheets. So yesterday, the BEDC did tentatively approve $50,000 to begin an assessment and study. The Elgin and Smithville city managers are on board. As soon as the meeting was over, I did send an email to Commissioner Glass, Commissioner Carmack, as well as Dina Lewis, and as of meeting time, I did not have a response. So we're gonna keep plugging with the cities, and the county is welcome to join in when they're ready. Next is the bridge update. If you've not seen the bridge, the deck has now been removed, and we are now doing the below deck steel repairs. We do have some change orders that are going to be coming to you. They are covered in contingency, but we do have an aesthetic change order in terms of the concrete and the decking, and then we also have the change order for the lighting. So those will come to you on the 14th, all still within budget. We are staying on schedule. Michael would have reached out to you on preparing a tour for the bridge. I know many of you have questions, specifically Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland, and so we will do our best to accommodate. Obviously, I won't have you walking on the steel structure, but we will get a tour ready, and so you can ask whatever questions are necessary. Pipe bursting, you'll see a lot of activity on Highway 71 between Sendero all the way to doggone it, beyond Burleson Crossing, and that is making room for additional wastewater. This is the most efficient way to get wastewater upgrades without pulling up all of the roads and everything else. There were some utility conflicts, and so you'll see us there for a little bit of time. Once they get done here, they're going to move to the other segment of Water Farm in Linden, and so we can continue the repairs to those roadways. Blakey, the utility plans are designed. Right now, we are working with BISD on a proposed improved traffic route. Some of that is queuing on site onto the BISD property itself. That will help relieve some of the pressure of the intersection. Once the school district has formalized their approval, we will move to meet with the affected landowners here, and the response from that is we will clear this shared access that everybody uses anyway. We will just formalize that access. Finally, my management dashboard is up and running. I can tell you how many cars are running, how many cars are idle, how many cars have a dead battery. I can tell you how many work orders we have. I can tell you how many lines, how many miles of pipe we've laid. You ask me anything about how we are running this organization, and I can give you a good, solid response, and this is actually kind of scary to staff. So they woke up Monday morning with me asking why I had some dead batteries on some of the vehicles, and they weren't aware that we had dead batteries on vehicles. So there you go. And finally, we want to give a big congratulations to the Bastrop Public Library, who received the Community Builder Award from the Masonic Lodge number 1456. I'm not sure Bonnie is here today, but, oh, there you go. Do you have anything you want to say, Bonnie? No, we're just really appreciative. Yes. So, as always, the library does a great job, and it's good that they're recognized. There you go.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it. All right, on to agenda item 4D, a proclamation I'm going to do for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Is there anyone here for that? Okay, all right.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes, if you can please just introduce yourself and who you're with. Thank you.
My name is Ashlyn Wetzel. I'm with the Family Crisis Center. Thank you all for being here and for everything that you do for our community. We really, really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm with the Family Crisis Center, and our main goal is to be the #1 resource provider when it comes to domestic violence and sexual violence, not only in our county, but Fayette, Lee, and Colorado County as well. So, some of you may or may not know, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We're trying to get a little bit ahead of the game. It's going to be April before we know it. And so I have a few things that I'd like to say. On behalf of the Family Crisis Center, we're honored to accept this proclamation from the city and from the mayor. Y'all are always a great support to us, and we honestly couldn't do it without you all. In our state, 1 in 3 Texans will experience some form of sexual violence within their lifetime. Additionally, hundreds of thousands of Texans are impacted each year, yet many cases go unreported. And that has a lot to do with the taboo that surrounds sexual violence. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's swept under the rug a lot because it is uncomfortable. And there's a lot of shame that goes around it. For far too long, it has existed in silence. It's surrounded by stigma and shame. But moments like this, conversations like this, are how we help change that. These conversations are what break down the taboo, they reduce shame, and they remind those that are impacted that they're not alone and that they're certainly not to blame for what has happened to them. At the Family Crisis Center, we see every day how powerful support and community involvement can be when it comes to helping those who have experienced something as devastating as sexual violence. When they have a community and they know that the conversation is being had, our hope is that that helps them feel safer to get the help that they deserve and that we want them to get. Awareness is great, but it also must lead to action. Together is the only way we can build a community that's safer and that eliminates the sweeping under the rug of sexual violence. We want to promote safety, we want to promote respect, and the only way that we can do that is to have these sometimes uncomfortable conversations because it's happening, and it's happening for everybody in some way, shape, or form. These are our friends, these are our family members, and sexual violence is one of the most underreported types of violence. So April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We've got some teal stuff in the back if you want to grab it and sport it all throughout the month of April, but also all year round, because for us, Sexual Assault Awareness Month is every month of the year. So once again, I want to thank you all for your leadership. Bastrop means a lot to me, and it means a lot to a lot of us. So we appreciate y'all, and thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so whereas most women and women who experience contact sexual violence reported that the person who harmed them was someone they knew. And whereas over 53% of women and over 29% of men reported experiencing contact sexual violence, and whereas 1 in 5 male victims reported only male perpetrators and 1 in 2 had only female perpetrators, about 1 in 6 had both male and female perpetrators. And whereas more than 1 in 4 black women, 29% in the United States, were raped in their lifetime, and 1 in 3 Hispanic women, 34.8%, reported unwanted sexual contact in their lifetime, and whereas 32.9% of adults with intellectual disabilities have experienced sexual violence, and 47% of all transgender people have been sexually assaulted at some point in their lives. And together, we can look back and move forward by reflecting on where we've been, honoring survivors, acknowledging progress, and recommitting ourselves to creating a safer future for all. Now, therefore, I, Ishmael Harris, Mayor of Bastrop, the City of Bastrop, hereby join advocates and communities across the country in taking action to prevent sexual violence. April is Sexual Violence Awareness Month, and each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand, caused the official seal of the City of Bastrop, Texas, to be affixed on this 24th day of March 2026. So if y'all would like to come get this, please. And I believe Colin's going to take a picture.
Get them all down here.
All right, we're on to agenda item 4E, Bastrop County Emergency Service District Number 3 EMS presentation. And council, this is what you all see in front of you. I put it down, he brought us all one up here, so each one of you should have one to look at.
Good evening, I'm Alan Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of ESD3, and I serve as the EMS Director for the district as well. Thank you for the opportunity to brief you on our progress. As y'all probably remember, thank you. As y'all probably remember, in late '24, there was a ballot initiative here in Bastrop County in the City of Bastrop to create ESD3. That initiative was successful, and then a year later, there was an initiative in the City of Elgin, and today ESD3 covers the entire jurisdictional boundary of the county. EMS here in the county for decades has been done through contracted EMS providers. Acadian EMS is our current contracted provider. They've been in the place for about 11 years. Their contract prior to June of this past year was zero subsidy, meaning they didn't get paid one dime of tax money to provide service here. They survived off of their fee-for-service revenue. Consequently, they were only able to fund 4 ambulances in the county. So routinely, day in and day out, there were extremely long response times and many times multiple episodes a day where an ambulance was not available throughout the entire county. To their credit, Acadian, at probably jeopardizing some of their contracted business in the city of Austin, would send ambulances to Bastrop County from the Austin market to assist here. And that certainly helped, and we're grateful for that. And today they still do that, but in a far lower frequency than they had prior to that. As the district was put in place and the first board was seated, they immediately started looking at examining the service levels and what the community really needed. In April of '25, the district accepted assignment of the Acadian contract from the county and began overseeing that contract and working with Acadian to enhance the level of service locally. The district funded additional ambulance resources. Initially, that was 5 24-hour ambulances instead of 4, and I've just been going along and not advancing the slides, but that's all right. So 5 24-hour ambulances plus 2 additional ambulances 12 hours a day. So at peak times, there were 7. We've since added an additional peak ambulance. So right now, as I stand here, there are 8 ambulances in service in the community, and that will start trailing off as we reach midnight. We'll be back down to 5. We also put in place performance metrics. We put in more rigorous response time requirements. We put in operational reporting, as well as clinical reporting, clinical performance metrics based on nationally endorsed evidence-based standards of care. So we now understand the level of care that's being provided to the citizens of Bastrop and Bastrop County. We also funded a 24-hour-a-day supervisor, which was very important. Prior to that, there was no local leadership here in the community. There was no advanced life support backup for those ambulances. In fact, the gentleman who oversees Bastrop County is responsible for everything from San Antonio to Oklahoma for Acadian. So the focus on our community really wasn't there to the degree that we felt it was needed. But that 24-hour-a-day supervisor has made a big difference in the care that's being given, and it provides another response unit in the community as well to help reduce response times. Still, even despite all of these things, we saw only incremental improvement in the level of service being provided. And in October, the district voted to bring EMS in-house. And so we began a 1-year transition plan. We're about halfway through that, and we're well ahead of schedule right now. In fact, we'll start receiving delivery of our new ambulances in June. We've got 15 on order to round out the fleet. And so many steps in that progress as we continue. Well, we'll just keep on going. Many additional things are taking place right now as we look to bring on our staff, put our protocols in place, and advance the standard of care. The decision to bring EMS in-house was made after a very lengthy feasibility study that looked at apples to apples. If we asked Acadian to step up and provide the level of care that we were asking for, what would that cost be versus doing it ourselves? And the difference was negligible. In fact, we found it to be actually slightly less expensive to do it ourselves because the marginal cost for us putting a 24-hour ambulance in service is less than what they would charge us with their margin built into that. And so we're steadily, as I mentioned in that plan, when we take over, we're targeting October 1 of this coming year to be that transition date. When we take over, it is our intent to have 8 ambulances 24 hours a day with 3 additional peak trucks. So we will have gone over about a 16-month period from 4 ambulances a day to a max of 8 to a max of 11 with 2 supervisors on, dividing the county into halves. And so we're working very closely with the city, working with the fire department, making responses with them. The ESD currently does have some response units, and we're hoping to supplement the system. We're also looking forward every day to seeing our future employees at work and getting an idea of how they're caring for the patients and what additional training might be needed. Another way we're working with the city right now is as a property owner. We've purchased property over off of Jasper, and we're in the planning stages for a central EMS station that will be there that will house 2 ambulances and a supervisor. And then across the street is where our administrative headquarters, our training center, and eventually a fleet facility. And so we're very pleased with that location, and we're looking forward to being longtime happy residents here and helping partner with y'all and your staff to take care of your citizens. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you very much.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Fire away.
Councilmember Foster has a question.
Yes.
You answered my question, but I also wanted to commend you because I remember in all the presentations that you'd say you all said you would be up to 11 vehicles, and like within the first year, really the first year of operating, you will be there.
And we have to.
Yeah, thank you for sticking to your word, and also the land acquisition is going great. You've got 8, or you're going to have 8?
We don't have 8 locations throughout the county yet, but we are getting close. I think we have solid plans for 5 right now, and we have plans in the works for 3 additional. We're working to partner with Bluebonnet Electric as well as LCRA to co-locate on property that they have, one in Bluebonnet out in Rosanke, LCRA up near Pope Bend. And so, you know, these interlocal partnerships are probably the best way to serve our taxpayers, as, you know, if we can help provide an economy of scale to each other, that's the best way possible. I sent a first responder agreement over to the assistant city manager yesterday. As you know, the fire department here does first respond with EMS, and we're looking forward to growing that partnership and partnering in quality improvement and training and helping to advance the care provided by your fire department as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for keeping your word and moving quickly. It's awesome, impressive. Thank you.
Councilmember Meyer. Thank you, Councilmember Foster.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the people of Bastrop first for passing that. You can see how your taxes are at work, right? And it's greatly needed. So thank you for providing that to the people, because they approved it and you're producing. So this is something that we can never have too much of, right? But it's critical for the well-being and the importance of our community. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I want to, you know, provide some thanks to my board. This is a very unique board. I've been involved in EMS my entire professional career, which is longer than I care to admit. But this board is made up of 5 people who come from the industry. So I think they would all agree that they're all conservatives as far as fiscally conservative, each one of them. But each one of them coming from the industry understands that we need to provide value. And we need to deliver a high-quality service. And so they're very supportive of the work that's going on. And if any of you have groups in the community that would like to hear more about what we're doing and get an update, or if they would like injury prevention message around stroke or trauma or whatever the case may be, please let us know. We have a vested interest getting out in the community and reducing the number of ambulance calls that are made by creating a healthier place to live. So please reach out to us. Be happy to arrange to get out and do that.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, well, appreciate it. All right. On to agenda item 4F. The City of Bastrop External Auditors, Crow LLP, will be presenting the FY 2025 Audit and Annual Comprehensive Financial Report to the City of Bastrop City Council.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Judy Sandrusi, Finance Director. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to our external auditor, Corey Lee, Senior Manager with the auditing firm Crow. She's here to present the results of our fiscal year 2025 audit, along with our annual comprehensive financial report, also known as the ACFR. You have a copy of this ACFR before you, and there's also one on our city website. Before turning it over, I'd like to share a brief perspective. This marks my 2nd audit with the City of Bastrop and my 11th audit overall at the municipal level. I can say that working with Corey and her team has been a very positive experience. They were responsive, easy to work with, and did an excellent job keeping us on schedule throughout the process, which was extremely important this year with the new state legislation that requires cities to be current on required audits. Thus, I'd like to extend my thanks to her and her team. With that, I invite Corey to walk us through the audit results and financial report. Corey, the floor is yours.
Awesome, thank you so much. Okay, so first I wanted to start it out thanking Judy, Laura, everyone on the city. It's a huge achievement. I think y'all's audit was filed a little bit later. This year, filed it within 6 months and a full 2 weeks before the deadline, which is a huge accomplishment that not all the cities are going to be able to say that they did. So first of all, just wanted to recap what we were engaged on to do. We're engaged on to express an opinion of the financial statements. I'll go over that opinion a little bit on the next slide, but pretty much how we do that is we do a risk-based audit. We go and look at the financial statements, any large dollar amounts, any risky areas. We go and look a little bit more deeper, and we'll do we'll design our testing to cover those areas. So we start with that with our phase one. We'll interview different people in the city. We'll look at y'all's controls, look at processes, just to assign risk to those areas. Then we move on to our next step. That's when we'll start sampling. We'll look at backup support. We'll ask a lot of questions. That's when we do our main testing. And then our final is reporting in our completion section, and that's where we get the report that y'all have in front of you, which is a lot of pages. So it takes a little bit of time to go through. So happy to report, we issue two reports. We issue the financial statements, and then we also issue a single audit. Single audit is specifically related to the grant funding that y'all receive from the federal government. Happy to say both of them received an unmodified opinion. The word is very weird, but that's actually the highest level. It means there was no modifications to the opinion. Really weird word, but it's the good one. Some things that we have to disclose is we do use specialists whenever we are doing an audit that we rely on, specifically related to y'all's pension and OPEB. Y'all have some actuaries that look at the numbers and tell us what they think it is. So we rely on them, so we just have to disclose that to y'all. Specific for the Uniform Guidance Report, this is based off y'all's federal funding that you received. We tested one program this year. It's the street improvements related to the Agnes Road extension. Happy to report there was no findings related to that grant. We also issue a report on financial reporting. We did have one finding noted to an investment. Basically, the city was due a refund, and it wasn't received timely, and there wasn't follow-up that was timely. We did issue a separate letter to y'all with more details. If y'all have any questions, though, just definitely let me know. Just some key statistics that we like to highlight. So net position increase, that's good. That means city has money to pay any bills that are coming up. It increased by about $7.9 million compared to the prior year. Y'all had a lot of capital outlay this year, so y'all built a lot of roads and bridges and other capital improvements for the city. And y'all actually had a decrease in liabilities of $5 million as y'all paid off y'all's debt. We also look at the general fund, just since that's one of the main funds. Looks like revenue increased by about 2%, expenditures increased about 6%, but overall, the city is in a very good position. These are just some adjustments that we're required to report. As a firm, we go and help y'all with some adjustments specifically related to pension, OPEB, debt, leases. So we just have to tell y'all that we do that for you. We provide that as a service. Corrected misstatements and uncorrected misstatements, there was none that were considered material to the financial statements that we're happy to say. There were some adjustments, but they weren't not considered material. Other required communications that I have to talk about is we did not have any significant unusual transactions, no disagreements with management, everybody was great, audit went very smoothly this year. Otherwise, there was a couple of new accounting standards that were implemented this year, specifically GASB 101, which is compensated absences. Basically, liabilities increased a little bit more compared to the prior year because now you have to book a liability for sick leave. The other one is GASB 102. This didn't affect y'all at all. Basically, this one is if you get the majority of your funding from one or two sources, you would have to disclose that in your financial statements, but that didn't affect y'all. And then here's my contact information if y'all have any questions, but I'm also happy to answer any questions you have right now.
Council members, do we have any questions?
Mayor, if I could, I would like to really thank the finance staff. Judy and company did an absolutely bang-up job. I don't want to remind you that our last two have been late, and it was critically important that this one not be late. Not just not be late, but it be very clear, even our little snafus that we had within the audit itself, and taken care of and resolved. So thank you to the staff and thank you to crew.
Yes, I'd like to say thank y'all as well. Y'all have done a fantastic job and have allowed us as a council to kind of put our minds at ease, knowing that y'all are taking care of business and doing things the correct way and presenting them in a very timely manner. So thank you again. All right, thank you, Corey.
Awesome, thank y'all.
All right. We don't have any work sessions or briefings, so now on to agenda item 6A, staff and board reports. 6A is consider an act to approve a resolution in support of the Bastrop Housing Authority's transition to a voucher program.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have Rhonda Baxter with the Housing Authority. There's a presentation that they're going to provide. They provided us for the rest of the council to review. They are transitioning from a standard program to a voucher-based program, so I'll let them go over some slides. I'll man your clicker. And then there's a question toward the end that was raised by Councilmember Lowe and actually Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland, both very good questions, and so I want to let them go through the presentation. Hopefully we will get that resolved.
All right, thank you. Rhonda, if you can just introduce yourself to everyone.
I'm Rhonda Baxter with Bastrop Housing Authority.
Put
I'm
a mic
Rhonda
down.
Baxter.
No, you don't have to stand up. There you go.
I'm short.
If you want, we can get you a box.
That would work.
All right.
Short people. So I'm with Bastrop Housing Authority. My name is Rhonda Baxter. I've been there 3 years, this May the 1st, and I am their executive director. We only have 50 public housing units, and we have 25 vouchers. That's not a lot. We have 1,500 people on our wait list. There's just, and public housing is trying to move forward into the voucher program. We would own our own property at that point and be less invasive by HUD, but we would have a contract with them that they would pay fair market rents for the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units, which we would be able, at that point, we would own the own property, and we could use that as collateral to buy more property and build more units to house more people. That's the only way we can see to resolve some of this homeless people that we have on the streets right now. There's just no way you're going to ever stop it totally, but we can put a dent in it by doing the repositioning and having the Section 8 vouchers. On the Section 8 vouchers, it will help improve the appearance of the housing, that we're only given a limited amount of capital funds for each year, and it's getting less and less for us to remodel. There's not a lot you can do with $150,000 when you have 50 units. And those units were built in 1968, so there's a lot of time on them. But at this point, the unit would be taken offline when one is vacant. We wouldn't have anybody that's not housed. We're always going to ensure they're going to have a tenant protection voucher, that if they wanted to go and take that tenant protection voucher, they could go to an apartment complex or a private sector and rent. And then if they choose to come back to our housing, then they can, and then that voucher can be reissued. So, we're kind of stagnant at this point because they only give us about 85 to 90% of our budget that we ask for each year. So on the, it tells you about, like, right now with public housing, we're getting about like 350 per unit. But if you're on repositioning with the Section 8 voucher, then that's going to increase that quite a bit. Like the 1-bedroom voucher gets $1,400 a month. So we're not even getting $700 a month for subsidy. So that's hard to pay for the staff and the repairs and stuff, especially on these old buildings. And this shows, like, we went through some troubled housing due to some former staff that did not get the financials done in a timely fashion. But I'm also over Smithville, so just ignore that part. I've been there 25 years. But we won't be demolishing any of our units. We've already gotten about 15 to 20 remodeled in the past 3 years. And I kind of try to look at it that it's a place that I would want to make sure that my mom is proud of. So if I feel like it's a good place for my mom to be, then I know it's a good place for my tenants that I'm going to put there. That we want to be able to provide safer housing and give them a place where they're proud to be. The rental assistance with the project-based vouchers, it's just a lot better because it is that you have more funding through there. It's just an ability for us to grow and to provide more housing for everybody. We still have to screen the tenants, and everybody has to pass the background check and stuff. Our wait list will be managed by our own people there. We will manage our own Section 8 vouchers. Our Piney Creek is a different program, and it's managed by, we take care of it, but it's managed by Southwest Housing Compliance. They handle our funding through HUD. But through this project-based vouchers, we'll be able to administer our own funding through HUD. We'll sign a contract with them once a year, and it's for 20 years. Each year, they will assess what the fair market rent is, and then and we have to complete what our utility allowances are and stuff like that, so they can approve that and then send us our funding. There's only one niche, that you have to keep all your units leased up, or they will not send you funding for that unit. So it's always our goal to strive to keep the wait list going and to get people pre-approved when we know we're going to have a vacancy. And like on our REACT score, we did 97, and that's where Inspire, it's a HUD group, comes in and they inspect for health and safety and see how the unit did. So Bastrop did very well last year. And again, it's just, this is showing the funding. The operating funding right now is probably 330, capital funds 144. The tenant rent, just say for instance, if it's 318, but you have some tenants that aren't able to pay but maybe $50 a month rent, so then HUD makes up the difference. But with the Section 8 program, it's a lot more. We will be like, they will pay up to the $1,400 for the one bedroom. And on the fair market rents, you can pull those up on the HUD website, but I can tell you right now, one bedroom is $1,562, two bedroom is $1,852, three bedroom is $2,347, a four bedroom is up to $2,760. It gives an opportunity for the tenants to find something, you know, they're not just stigmatized to some low area that's not suitable and it's not going to pass inspection. We have really good staff that is trained to do the inspections and stuff to make sure that our tenants are taken care of. And that's just more guidelines on there that shows you about the incomes, the 90%, 80% of the fair market rents and stuff. Bastrop, we do like 90% on the 1 and 2 bedrooms, 95% on the 3 and the 4 bedrooms. And that's on the voucher program. A lot of the housing authorities that have moved over, like Austin, is totally now with the project-based voucher. They're not public housing anymore. And so it's given them an opportunity to make a lot more money, which you can hire more staff, and then to increase the amount of apartments that we'll have, you know. So we just wanted y'all's blessing so that we can move forward with this. And then once that it's all approved through HUD and stuff, then they give us the deed of trust. We can take that to an investor so that we can get the funding to buy some property and build it. But we will own that property. It will stay in the housing authority of the City of Bastrop. So can I answer anything else? I'm kind of...
Council, do we have any commentary, any questions, concerns, comments?
So, Mayor, what you see up on the screen is, everybody knows I'm from Corpus Christi, and I'd like you all to pull out your phones and Google Corpus Christi Housing Authority, and you can Google how things go really, really, really bad, really, really, really quickly. And so one of the important items for us, and I discussed with Rhonda, I have no idea how the payments work, the vouchers work, and I said I'm not in.
We could add some units to that, but the whole point of our repositioning would allow us to have our deed of trust so that we could go to a bank and that we could buy property and hire contractors to build us more units that are affordable housing, and it is based on the voucher program.
As I was reading through this and contemplating, what some future crystal ball what could harm the city. And one thing that could harm the city is if, for instance, those houses that you have today were to be demolished and then you raised 4-story apartment complexes as densely as the code allows in that space. our infrastructure in that area built for 1960s single
Correct.
structures. The pipes in the ground aren't large enough, and the
No.
amount of money it would take to fix that would probably be, $10 million or some number that the city manager
Yeah, our
could
plan
explain.
is to keep the one-level apartments. It's easier for us to maintain with the staff, and it's easier on the tenants. Now, if you purchase a new program and stuff, a new property and stuff, we still didn't want to go over 2 stories for the fact of just the issues that you have. But with the old property, we definitely do not want to change that. We want to keep them all ground-level units.
I'm not even sure what my question is, but
Okay.
it's in the ballpark of, assuming you're not here anymore and the board is turned over, how do we enforce that? Like, how adding a few more units at the same density that you've got, I'm not concerned about.
Right.
Tearing them down and completely renovating the whole, sets of properties in our historic downtown with large apartment buildings, it would be a serious infrastructure problem.
Right, and I don't,
So, but how do we, Madam City Manager, we're doing development code tonight and zoning. Do you have any thoughts on ways that we could, support this, but not leave a door open for a kind of redevelopment that would be detrimental to our
Sure.
infrastructure?
Anything under redevelopment has to size its infrastructure appropriately. There is a limit to the off-site that they are required to do, right? They have to pay their proportionate share, but in the case of Linden, for example, they're not going to have to improve the wastewater line or the water line all the way to Farm and then all the way back to Chestnut. That's just, the off-site improvement to that is too great. But they do have to address their on-site improvements, and we do have rules on detention. We do have rules on those things, so. You have parking rules, you have all kinds of things. Any deviation of that would have to come to the Planning and Zoning Commission and also to the council for potential variance.
And do you think that's adequate protections?
I think today, yes, it's adequate protection.
Okay.
If they, let's say, for example, they raised the entire Linden complex and wanted to come with a 3-story apartment complex, not that that's what you guys want to do,
Agreed.
but
Yeah.
there's parking space requirements per unit. And so that, you begin to have to try to fit a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, with
Now, if-
60% impervious.
Correct.
cover,
And
yeah.
if this council isn't there and the P&Z isn't there and they say, Katie, bar the door, give them everything they want, then, that's a different story. But we do have a code, we do have processes. I think it's workable in its manner. My greater concern was, as other housing authorities have done, is taken that extra revenue and went and purchased additional apartment complexes that are already on the tax rolls. And so what that does is, yes, it increases the affordable housing stock, but it has a detrimental impact to all of the taxing entities when that stock comes offline. And so there is a cost benefit of the housing and the folks we need to house, and then the entities who are reliant, like BISD, on the taxes. So it's a fine balance. That's my greater concern more than anything, is the ability to leverage that revenue for additional sources.
Okay. Thank you.
as we go forward and we have our 5-year plan, I will bring that to the city so that y'all can review that and stuff.
Well, thank you, Mayor
And
Pro
then,
Tem.
I will bring it up with the board. Chase, our chairman, is here, and that way we can discuss, the plans and see that y'all have them down so that y'all can be reassured of what we're trying to do. We only know that we can only do small steps, so anything grandiose it's not in the future that I'm going to be there, so I don't think there's a worry at this point. We want to keep the ones at Linden and Anderson and Riverview ground level units because of the infrastructure and stuff, we realize. And that would just be not cost effective at all because you're having to revamp for 3-story buildings. And besides, I don't know what the density is there at our location. I haven't asked y'all that. So, but like I said, we appreciate y'all's support and stuff, and HUD just wanted y'all to know what we were doing.
Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you, and thanks, Rhonda. And I really want to thank all of the Housing Authority, because y'all do a great job, and that's a hard situation because you give dignity to the people. that are in need, that need assistance. And by providing more funding for y'all to have the dollars to be able to improve the units, look, I was born in the 60s in Bastrop, and I remember when it's time to redo those, but I get it because you don't have the money to do it. But with also 1,500 people on a waiting list, that's not okay, Bastrop. That's really not okay. And we always talk about, we're all about affordable housing, but it's, we need to really step behind that and show that. So I just want to thank all of you for what you do. Just because people are in a certain bracket where they can't afford things doesn't mean that they shouldn't be respected and have dignity. So I appreciate you doing that, and I think I'm very happy to stand behind y'all, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Meyer. Councilmember Lowe?
Yeah, I was just, we do need to clear agreement to get that so we don't step in the mess. I didn't read the corpus deal, but I will look into that and go down that rabbit hole. But I think that as I've thought about it over the time, is that I don't know if there's some kind of way that in the future where we can, look at a hybrid kind of approach, kind of where we mix kind of uses to take care of the housing issue. So, but that's another thing I'll bring up probably in a memo. But I didn't have a question, but I appreciate you looking into this and doing this. This is a great program, and it's definitely needed for the community.
Thank you.
We got some more. So sorry, Rhonda. And then I'm going to say something else also. Okay. So
Thanks for your presentation.
Councilmember Foster.
I'm glad that there's not going to be any reduction in inventory. And for increasing inventory, is it true that like other landlords can participate in this voucher program, right?
Right.
So we could do, like, when you get transitioned and go through the program, it'd be awesome to do some outreach to landlords and property owners, how they can also join the voucher program.
And Ashley
increase
Trahan
inventory.
is our Section 8 coordinator at Bastrop Housing.
What's her name, sorry?
Ashley Trahan.
Ashley Trahan.
She's very good at marketing, and she's talked to a lot of landlords that have all the new homes, like in behind Home Depot and behind the hospital and stuff. So our tenants have an opportunity to rent those houses, and we've got some really good landlords.
So she's already walking landlords through that process, and she's already
Yes.
providing that service?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank
Yes.
you.
She's a very good marketer.
Okay. Thank you.
I do just want to say thank you for all of the work and effort. I know y'all have done a lot to work at making or providing more affordable housing. Thank you, council members, Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland, for your thoughts on this. There are things that we need to make sure that we look at, because those changes, if they happen, they can be heavily impactful to that neighborhood, and that's not what we're trying to do. We want to help people out as best as possible, but we also want to be responsible in how we do it. So I appreciate your outlook on it, knowing that you can't go bigger per se, or go bigger and going up because it will impact, but we want to provide housing for people. As Councilmember Meyer said, 1,500, that's a lot of people on the waiting list. Right. And so whatever way that, affordable housing can come here, and it generally works out in the most honest way for everyone, is good for this community. A lot of people hear the term Section 8 and they want to, look at it with a negative connotation, and it's not, right? It's just people that are maybe in a hard situation or trying to get themselves in a better life, or whatever it is. They can be elderly, they can have a disability, it can be anything. It doesn't just because you're in it doesn't mean you're a bad person or you're up to no good, or
And sometimes it is a stepping stone.
And it's a stepping stone, right? For
Young
people to
moms
get
and dads
responsibility.
going to college or wanting to go to training school.
Right.
If they have that rental assistance, they are allowed to provide a great
Yes.
place for their kids so they can
Right.
move up and then own their own home.
Right.
And we do have a home ownership program too, through the voucher program, but that will be increased along when we get to do the repositioning and stuff,
Right.
because we'll have more vouchers to offer people.
And I appreciate that y'all are, looking at other areas to purchase to provide that, and looking at, those different housings that you mentioned. I've been by there they've been there forever, right? And I'm from here, so, I know the exact spots where you're talking about where you can add more housing to provide for people. So I think it's great for our community as long as we do it correctly and we do it right. So with that, just for clarification, what exactly are you wanting in the support from us?
Just saying that you're behind us in moving forward so that we can grow our housing authority and grow our Section 8 program to help the community of Bastrop and Bastrop County.
She provided a stock letter, Mayor.
Right. Okay, I just was trying to get it out here in the open, that's all. That's just,
We appreciate your support, and it's just really important to us that we can work in a way to provide more housing to help people, and we can't do it with 50 units. There's just no way. The wait list for Section 8, because we only have 25 vouchers, that wait list has been closed for years. And unless we do repositioning, there's no way to increase it because HUD hadn't given us any more vouchers over the years. Years ago, when they implemented the Section 8 program at Bastrop Housing, people didn't think they would really need it back then because Bastrop was really small, and so they offered the vouchers, and it was only 23, I think, and so we've had 2 since then that HUD gave us a couple of years ago, and that's 2 is nothing over, almost 60 years. But with the repositioning, they will increase this by 50 at that point, tenant protection vouchers. If the tenants choose not to move, then those vouchers go into our voucher program, and then those people will stay in our housing authority. And we will set up a fund to help them move so that it'll have a certain amount. So if they have to move so that we can remodel a unit and stuff, then we're going to have that fund there to help them out. It'll have a certain limit, it's not like the sky's the limit and stuff. But we just really want to know that y'all want to help us in that endeavor by saying that you've got us like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Rhonda. Appreciate it. All right. On to agenda item 6B, consider an act. Oh, we need to.
I move to approve the resolution of support.
Yes, I'll say we need to approve this. Sorry, I'm moving too fast. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, passage unanimous. Agenda item 6B, consider an act to approve resolution R-2026-22 and to enter into negotiations with VOTR regarding direct potable reuse. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is my Kool-Aid, so Rhonda, you may want to stick around. I have no idea what she does in her program and was just glazed over when she sent me her information. So this is more my lane. So, Mayor and Council, I am not able to click. Oh, I'm not ready for that one just yet. Yeah. There you go. So we do have a representative of VOTR here, but I wanted to queue up on the presentation and why we're contemplating this. As many of you know, plants 3 and 4 that we recently cut ribbon on are already going to be out of compliance with TCEQ. There are phosphate and other discharge limits that our plant will not meet. And so we are going to have to make some modifications to the plant, including moving the outfall that would give essentially the water a greater path to travel for some cleansing through natural methods before it hits the river. Now, understanding that in times of drought, in times of dry, there's not a lot of grass that's going to do that. And so we have to make some protections. We're going to have to make some chemical adjustments and things in the outfall. That is a $1.8 million project. It does have a very high contingency amount. I think it's got a 50% contingency, so it's about a $900,000. If nothing changed and everything went perfect, which, knock wood, we've been on that path lately, so that's a good thing. But what I'm offering tonight is an alternative slash additive. We call it alt-add in the plans and engineering plans, and it is a company called Vater. It's a relatively new technology. They are pilot testing in Onion Creek right now through a municipal utility district. It is a way to cleanse the water, essentially, and get it ready for direct potable reuse, which is almost drinking water. Before anybody gets crazy, my plan is not to mix direct potable water just yet. We've got a long way to go, but it is something that could be available to industry. And as we get to the point where water is very, very, very important, if I can treat wastewater, treat the water that is in that, and put that back to use, we begin to rely less on the aquifer, and there's less strains on the water supply. And as growth in Central Texas continues, it is very, very, very important that we understand we need to be stewards of our resources. We do have great wells at Excess Ranch that would give us an ultimate capacity of 8 MGD a day. However, LCRA, guess who just pumped new wells right next to us? Luckily, our wells are in a recharge area, but it is always an area of grave concern, and I never want to pump to the limits. I am absolutely understanding we have farmers and ranchers around us who also rely on that same water supply, so it is really incumbent upon us to be good stewards. Vater was introduced a few months ago. We have been researching, we've been visiting the sites, we have visited with TCEQ, we've had discussions with the Water Development Board. My goal was to bring you Vater and the expansion of wastewater treatment plant, what is now going to be 4 and 5 together. That one hit a little bit of a hiccup. You'll see that on April the 14th, but I wanted to bring Vater to you. There is a presentation that I'm going to bring up on the screen, and I don't know if Joe or Kevin is going to, Kevin Gass with Vater is going to walk through that presentation. He and Joe are representatives. We have been, the three of us, to TCQ. We have met with some pretty high-level folks as to this technology and how the state, with its water demands, is looking at alternative solutions and how we can expedite permitting processes. Understand we're not going to ever waive a permitting process. We've got to go through the necessary testing, but they are looking at this technology very favorably and can ultimately, hopefully, reduce that permitting time frame. So, okay, Kevin, I'm sorry. Okay, Colin, now you can bring it up. So, Kevin, please introduce yourself to the council.
Thank you, Mayor and council members and community. I apologize for the accent. You'll see it's not very Texan.
Man, don't apologize from where you from.
South Africa. So South African originally, and I'll use my best Texan accent. So Kevin Gast, CEO for Water. If you're outside of Texas or the US, it would probably be Vater. We've developed this technology over the last 7 years. We've spent a considerable amount of money developing it, and we're utilizing it not only just in the US, but outside of the US as well. We've done roughly about 4.3 billion gallons of water treatment, over 8,000 different tests, in a variety of different applications, from industrial reuse, where we utilize companies like Nestle, other large food and beverage manufacturers, and a variety of other different customers, including municipalities, where we're taking contaminated discharge water, which is right now a waste, and you have to pay to get rid of it, and then retreating that back again to a resourceful element where you can actually earn money from it again. And if you look at how water treatment is done, when you flush your toilet, it goes to a wastewater treatment facility. It's got to go through that whole plant, and eventually you end up with something that doesn't have all of the solids in it, the condoms, the tampons, the pads, those type of things. But it has a lot of microorganisms and bugs that want to kill you, and eventually that gets discharged into a river, a creek, or a dam, and eventually Mother Nature takes part of that, and then eventually that ends up in a dam where you can actually then treat it again to drinking water. And from that perspective, that whole cycle is a massive cycle that takes a very long time. So what DPR is basically is where you can take that discharge water from a wastewater treatment facility and then skip all of those steps where you get to it straight to a drinking water quality or a non-drinking water quality, but you can use it for irrigation and other applications. So I wanted to do a very brief introduction on my side. I'm going to hand over to Joe very shortly. He's one of our senior vice presidents as well. Thank you for your time. Great to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys today. And
Maybe just one more time, introduce yourself
Yep.
to us, please.
Yes, absolutely. I'm Joe Navarre, SVP of Sales at Water. And while Miss City Manager mentioned that we're a fairly young company, I do remember when I was graduating from UT and Frost Tower was the only thing you could see from ACL. But we've been here a while, actually. And yeah, as Kevin mentioned, our process is quite innovative when it comes down to the overall treatment methodology. We do not utilize filters, chemicals, and membranes and such. And one moment, please. Colin, I think you got the clicker? All right. Thanks. So we actually do not use chemicals, filters, membranes. We're quite recognized for our innovative treatment methodology. Been recognized here recently from the folks at Inc., CES, World Awards. But actually, yeah, you can go to the next one. Sorry, Colin. Yeah, ultimately, when we're looking at the overall Bastrop water treatment facility, the challenges that Central Texas is actually currently facing, they're not necessarily inherent in Central Texas itself. The global challenge is that we're facing a significant increase in population, business, industrial use, and overall water consumption. Subsequently, we're facing less and less fresh water use, and we're trying to combat the issue with a whole bunch of antiquated technology, chemicals, filters, membranes upon membranes, and filters behind more chlorine and whatnot. As Kevin mentioned, overall water treatment processes go through wastewater facilities, which are treated, and like the Bastrop facility, post-treatment, this water ends up being discharged into other bodies of water and later recollected and retreated for use. We are bypassing that ultimately with our long-term technology by treating that water directly at the wastewater facility and using it for direct potable reuse. But as safe, really planned installations and phased installations, the plan is to actually phase in. So when we look at the West Bastrop facility, the current proposal is to actually replace the chlorine disinfection measures within the plant itself with our technology, which again does not use chemicals for the disinfection measure and treatment measure. This actually saves in the overall operational expenditure of the treatment facility and improves the overall treatment quality of the water. Who actually has the clicker? Actually, give me 1 second. Apologies for that. So what we're actually proposing is replacing the entire disinfection measure of the West Bastrop facility, which is still per permit set for discharge parameters, but as a safe measure for incrementally phasing in our technology into the long-term treatment solution for future direct potable reuse of the region. Now, when you look at what our current treatment train that we're proposing is, we utilize our core technology, which is a Faraday reactor, utilizing low electric pulses to actually treat water and disinfect down at the cellular and membrane level, killing all the microorganisms and actual bacteria within your water source. As that water actually passes through, any solids remaining are pulled off and skimmed off through our proprietary advanced dissolved air flotation unit, essentially just separating water into various density levels, skimming off disinfection measures and or disinfected items, and eliminating the waste, and then discharging into your regular discharge pathways. Now, I might have clicked out of that one, Sylvia. Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. Now, overall performance of the treatment system itself, we actually achieve quite a step change reduction of your contaminants in water, which are measured by TCEQ. So per the West Bastrop's wastewater treatment plant facility and the permit that is currently issued by TCEQ, Bastrop actually has certain limits of contaminants that are allowed for discharging into fresh bodies of water. Now, running with our system, the actual water system, we're actually able to beat some of these parameters much lower and achieving much higher quality of water that is actually being treated out of the facility. Ultimately, the biggest differentiator for not just the facility itself, but for the overall city of Bastrop, is the operational efficiency or operational expenditure for the unit. Compared to other legacy technologies, the cost to operate the system is substantially lower. While we do use electricity to treat water and disinfect it, we eliminate the chemicals, filters, membranes that have the recurring costs associated to them at an annual or semi-annual basis. Our units can actually operate several years without any maintenance measures. All of our units come inherent with monitoring solutions or monitoring technology, which can alert users for any kind of preventative maintenance measures and maintain overall uptime of the unit. Now, when it comes to overall cost effectiveness of the unit and system, we've got a couple of different commercial structures in which we typically deploy. Now, when you see other units out there from a price-to-price perspective, everyone always compares the commercial upfront price, the capital expenditure. Typically, we're anywhere around 20 to 40% lower than your traditional technologies to achieve the similar reductions in the overall treatment methodologies, elimination of contaminants. The real differentiator occurs in your overall operational expenditure, which can actually hit about 80% reduction once you eliminate those chemicals, membranes, and recurring membrane replacements. Now, again, we mentioned kind of phasing in the overall direct potable reuse side of things. So when we talk about fully reusing water, taking treated water all the way to your tap, there are a couple of different milestones we want to achieve before we actually start running water back into the tap. First phase, what we're proposing here today, is actually getting to discharge parameters. So essentially taking a lighter step into the overall direct potable reuse side of things. So the first proposed step is just replacing your discharge technology, which is inherent on the obsolete type of chemical treatment organization side of things, and moving into the water treatment side of things, water treatment. So the first step is the replacement of that tertiary phase, and then subsequently the next steps are going into the direct potable reuse and start reusing that for more industrial applications, and then longer term actually scaling that up and moving into more residential applications. So we are proposing more of a phased implementation of the system.
There's a video that they're going to bring up. We did visit. That is Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland and I drinking straight out of the treated water. And I'm still here. I didn't get sick. We are not, again, so the residents understand, we are not proposing direct potable reuse at this time. We are not proposing direct potable reuse. I'm not mixing treated wastewater into the drinking water for the residents. But it is a smart approach to keep the drinking water to the residents and to keep treated effluent for industry.
And just on that note, so what we're proposing right now is that phased implementation of the system. While yes, the system would be ready today for direct potable reuse, ultimately the responsible implementation methods and the overall community buy-in and overall community involvement as we continue to scale up is that phased approach, making sure folks are actually comfortable with the technology and understand what's actually running through their pipes. I think ultimately a lot of folks don't really think about the broader water treatment spectrum. when we all talk about water shortages and how we actually have water coming out of our taps, a lot of folks don't really think about what it takes to actually get that water to your tap. So first thing we're looking to do is really hit that industrial application, more of the lower risk side of things, where we can actually fill in that demand and allow residents to continue actually scaling up and continue growing the city of Bastrop, eventually coming in as a full direct potable reuse application for everybody. Now, it is not just our founder, CEO, Kevin, and myself. We've got quite a high-powered global team behind us. We've got a couple of engineers with decades of experience around the globe. We are a global organization. While we do have a couple of installations across the United States, we've actually got installations across the world. Actually, one of our installations hosted a live golf tournament down in South Africa two weeks ago, so that was pretty exciting to see on TV. But yeah, out here in Texas, we're actually Austin-based. Got a couple of employees, really anywhere from Round Rock to Bastrop, down to Buda, and our manufacturing facility is out in Dripping Springs. So Bastrop is our backyard; it's our home. So it's really important to us to actually make sure we've got sustainable water out here. Now, from a product breadth, product scope perspective, yes, we do focus on the overall water treatment side of things from primarily a fixed or modular plant perspective, but we do also focus on some emergency response type of units. We've got a couple of units that are really fit more for Department of Defense applications, Department of War applications. And we also have other products that are really more for environmental disaster applications. You take hurricane, water shortages along the coastline. We've got our Alpha unit, actually, which a couple of our members here were actually able to visit one of our mobile units. But when it comes to actually scaling the modular type of system, even though we're proposing actually deploying at a 2 million gallon per day application, scaling up from a modular perspective is inherent in the overall design of our package solutions to be able to move up and scale up according to demands, whether demand is increasing faster than expected or if we need to plan accordingly per city budgets. We've actually been chatting now with the city of Bastrop for a couple of months. Overall implementation from our end is actually relatively fast. Again, we manufacture things out of Dripping Springs, so I'll drive things over here on my Subaru if you like. And, well, yeah, with that, I'd like to just open it up to some questions for you guys.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
So good to see you again. Yes, Sylvia, you've used this phrase, don't drink from every cup that's offered, but
yeah, that's good advice.
But so I have a couple questions. The first one is, how does the technology deal with pharmaceuticals in the water?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So the technology actually has a wide scope to deal with various contaminants. Now, the core Faraday reactor itself is comprised of a couple of different material compositions which target certain disinfection or certain contaminants within your water supply. Ultimately, we rely on understanding what your influent water coming into the overall treatment solution is. Now, there are certain chemicals and ions that could actually be discharged within that overall water source coming through the technology, which react with certain materials within the Faraday reactor through the electric fields that are emitted in that Faraday reactor. Now, if there are any solids being passed beyond the Faraday reactor, they're then further separated within our advanced dissolved air flotation unit and skimmed off. But it all comes down to chemical reactions targeting those certain contaminants at the end of the day.
Okay. And we're looking at 2 million gallons a day output or input?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, both. So
Both
what we're
output
looking at right now would be an input of 2 million gallons per day. And when you look at some inherent or legacy technologies out there, you do have some water losses per treatment. That's primarily due to losses inherent in filters, membranes, and what have you. Since we don't use those filters and membranes, we only lose max 0.2% of that water stream coming in. So when you talk about water sustainability from your treatment solution, from input to output, we're able to maintain a near flat water level.
At the sites where you have installations or perhaps, your big truck, what has been your overall uptime? And by that, if we hypothetically were to commit, 1.5 million gallons a day to some industrial user, and then the system went down for 2 weeks, that would cause a problem for everybody on our end. So what kinds of uptime reliability have you seen at your other sites, and how do you deal with, that kind of a situation in your support model?
Well, I think I'll preface that by saying we do put our money where our mouth is, so we fully guarantee our units. We actually guarantee the service on a 10-year service model when we do sell our units. So it is on us to make sure that the uptime is there. We have achieved, it's approximately 99% uptime. Now, we are on the back end of treatment trains. So actually, while you guys were visiting, the facility we're visiting actually had a little bit of downtime upstream from us because they had some membrane issues. So we are essentially really on the back end. But for our treatment train itself, we do actually guarantee the performance of the solution.
No, and I get how you've got a service contract for 10 years that it includes the repair. But I'm just contemplating, and Sylvia, this is kind of something that we need to keep in mind. 99% is still down 3 days a year. And so, if that's a problem for a user, then we have to know how to deal with that.
And if I might.
Oh, please.
Yeah. So ultimately, we do actually build in the redundancy within the units. So say the unit that you guys visited itself does have dual redundancy in it, such that whenever there is a unit that may have downtime per se, we do have automated manifolds to switch over into the other unit. So the dual redundancy is already built into the system, and that is actually the redundant system that we've proposed on this end.
Okay.
Maybe just to add SLAs as well.
Microphone.
Yep.
Sorry, just to add on that, thanks. Just briefly, on all of our contracts, we do service level agreements.
Right.
So standard SLAs with financial implications as well. So you'll have the same with your industrial users. If you have to provide to a data center, if you go down for 3 days, they're going to hit you, you're going to hit us. And that's where that protection is built into it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good answer. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland. Councilmember Lowe.
Thank you. The scalability and all that, that's awesome. You know what I mean? But if the state won't let us turn on the valve, it's a heck of a paperweight. So has the TCEQ fully permitted a Faraday reactor for DPR in Texas at this point?
Yeah, so Texas is currently leading with California with DPR technologies. TCEQ doesn't approve any technology, method, or some type of product. They just cannot do that. I tend to joke with them and say, people can probably do it with, donkeys and fairy dust to treat water as long as it meets some minimum requirements. I'm sure if you add, some narcotics in the water as your method of treatment, they'd probably be concerned. But from their perspective, as long as you meet a minimum requirement at the end, doesn't matter how you treat that water, they'll approve it, as long as you meet that requirement. And I think from Texas, El Paso is one of the only other cities pushing DPR at the moment. But I think the progressiveness, a lot of other cities, I think we've all seen what's happened at Corpus Christi right now. I mean, they're 4 months away from day zero. As a South African from, that Cape Town almost experienced day zero as well, you'll see there's a flurry of cities and towns and counties all the way from Corpus Christi up to Austin right now, running around trying to find more water resources just to shore up because of the demand. And I think, if you look at reports like Deloitte's a few years ago saying that water or clean drinking water is probably going to be a higher commodity than gold at some point in time. So I think, cities like yourselves taking a bit more of a progressive look to it to try and protect yourselves, I think that's the right way. And TCQ is very much inside. City manager met with us with TCQ as well, and they're very much in support of DPR solutions.
Ooh, thank you.
Councilmember Foster.
Thank you for presenting. So the repair and maintenance is included for 10 years?
Yes, ma'am.
How fast can you get here when we call?
Well, fortunately, we're just down the road, so quite quick. With those SLA agreements, we want to react within hours. But if we don't react within hours, we'll react within days, and we're going to get penalized to do that. So it incentivizes us to react even quicker. We want to make sure that there is no downtime. With all of our installations that we do, mobile units, fixed units, it doesn't really matter. We have built-in automation. We haven't been sort of dubbed the Tesla of water treatment for nothing, and it's because of that exact reason, is because we built a lot of autonomy into the systems. They learn, they adapt, and as time goes by, we can predict before things even happen.
And when you're here to do those kind of maintenance and repair things, will you be teaching our crew as well so that they're getting that knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome,
Yes, ma'am.
thanks.
Councilmember Plunkett.
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions. One, what is the largest municipal, facility you have like this? How many gallons?
About 3.2 million gallons per day, but that is pure direct potable reuse. So that is the contaminated water coming in is basically what's referred to in the industry as black water.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically wastewater minus the inorganics and the solids, and then that's treated all the way basically to a potable drinking water standard as well. And that's been running for almost 6 years now.
Okay, so you do, with physical filters, remove the solids first?
No,
Is that right?
No, correct, no. No filters, no membrane. So even in that particular instance, your particulate size is roughly about 30 to 40 micron.
I'm sorry, but we have to figure out a way to remove
In this specific
those solids
instance,
or-
yes.
Yeah,
In this specific
that's
instance,
fine.
yeah, we're picking up at the back end.
Right, okay.
Correct, yeah.
And then, see, I forgot my second question. You did a good job.
Well, maybe I'll help spark some for you. I've been
Remember,
waiting on
this is in addition to the wastewater treatment plant. This is sort of at the back end,
right.
adjustment.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
I want to be very clear for folks. I see the comments today. No, this is not to entertain or to provide the water to the data center at Wolf Lane. Let's just get that out there right now. That's a different project, a different water service provider. It is for us to be good stewards of our water. Today when people run irrigation, they are running drinking water. And wouldn't it be awesome if we could run irrigation through water that is effluent, maybe not drinkable, but saves the drinking water for those things and those communities and those people who are in dire need? I am from Corpus Christi. You guys know that. It hurts my heart. This is not reverse osmosis either. This is not salty. We're not doing desal in this. This is an entirely different process. This is a way to make sure we are good stewards and holding on to good water and using poopy water for different things.
All right, so thank you, council. Y'all, some of the questions that y'all presented were things I was jotting down. Just so y'all, I've been in wastewater for 22 years, right? So excuse my face as I'm looking at you giving this presentation because I've heard new water, wastewater technology treatment more times than I can remember, and a lot of them haven't been what they've lived up to. And so just somebody that's been in the field, in the industry, I've had to deal with the products not working. So to Councilmember Foster's point, thank you for bringing that up because that is crucial. Y'all have a 10-year service contract. My thoughts are what is in that service contract, right? Because there's some things that could pop up that we didn't disclose, and we're paying the bad end of those things. There's the thing of training, because after the service contract, ideally what I would like is our staff to be able to learn the equipment to where we don't have to necessarily rely on y'all, because that's a little bit more costly for us to have y'all come in versus our staff being able to learn it. But plus, we also want to have advanced learning in our treatment, right? So being able to get that hands-on instructional learning and not just some booklet, like legit learning. The redundancy thing that was brought up, that's super important, because there is a thing of downtime, and we can easily be like it was in the last couple of years, where we had issues getting different pieces of equipment, different products, right? And that downtime or the lead time would be what we think is a month, and now it's turned into 6 months, right? And it's no control of ourselves, but we need to have that redundancy in case that happens. There is the questions of, like Councilmember Plunkett wanted to know, like the largest size that you do. How many plants do you have here in Texas?
At the moment, 3, sir.
3.
Yeah.
And how long have they been here?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And your company has been in existence how long?
Since 1961, which is
61.
our conglomerate, and then we spun off about 3.5 years ago.
Okay, and so that's a pretty good record, our lifetime of doing this.
We've probably got about 15,000 projects below our belt across pretty much most continents and countries worldwide. So.
Okay, all right. So with that being said, and I'm not joking, Texas has a different effect on equipment. Like that, it ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? I've seen it for years and years, right?
Yeah.
People from different regions, they bring their product here, say it works, and it comes here in Texas with its inconsistencies, and the weather puts a whoop on it. And so we definitely need to make sure that this product is going to withstand. Let's see here. There are things that come along, the small things that come with this product, right? You're going to have flow meters, you're going to have density meters, you're going to have SCADA that's going to be tied into SCADA, right?
100%.
That information, those little bitty things can cause big hurdles,
right,
and can cause more downtime than the larger pieces of equipment itself. So do y'all have reliable equipment in that? Are they up to par, up to snuff? Those are things I think about. And then, PFAS, right? They're still trying to figure that out in this industry. And we're a ways away from really figuring out the true causes and effects of it. There's concerns. People are trying to get ahead of it. TCQ is making the regulations, right? But it's still relatively known, because, plastics are in everything.
Correct.
Right? And so I definitely want to make sure we're doing our part to be advanced in that. The other thing that I think about is, we have a total reuse, right? And the thing is to keep it in here, and it sounded like you're saying you're going to minimize the discharge into the rivers, right? Or is it going to be roughly the same? And the reason I ask is because people don't realize this, but cities contribute to the amount of flow and water that's in the rivers just as much as nature does.
Right.
Because that's what goes on in the treatment process, right? It comes in through your headworks, primary treatment, your aeration, your secondary treatment, depending on where you are. If you're using chlorine, you got your chlorination, then you got your SO2 where you taking that out, then it discharges into the river, which that part you can actually drink too. It just kind of tastes a little terrible. And maybe give you a little cramp.
This would eliminate those processes, Mayor, and I remind you that the plan for plants 3 and 4 is an ultimate 8 MGD, potential 10 with the reuse technology. Some of this is monetizing what would have just normally been discharged back into the river, monetizing it for irrigation, monetizing it for industry and commercial use, and discharging what is absolutely required to discharge, which right now our discharge requirements are minimal. But they're minimal, but they still require so much treatment, the chlorination, all of those things
Right.
that are not natural, that when they hit the river have an effect.
Right. Well, you also have where you can do UV and you don't have to put the gases in there. But I'm just wondering, like, how much will we contribute to the river? Because, if the rivers don't have cities properly discharging it to them, then they're going to dry up.
So, Mayor, if I maybe have just a minute just to answer some of your questions. So I think first and foremost, if you look at most of your more legacy technologies, membranes, filters, biological treatments, chemical treatments, the biggest issue that most people find, for instance, reverse osmosis and membranes, is biofouling and sediment formation, as you would know. And I think, even with the latest, greatest membranes coming out, those things already start achieving those problems within 6 or 12 months. They got to swap out the membranes, clean them out, and you've got a lot of downtime. So this sort of negates that entire process. So to answer your first question, which was around downtime in particular, that's why this technology in itself has been so successful and so widely adopted, is because of that reason. It's because people are already saying, hey, we are experiencing so much downtime and challenges and things that break that we can't do that. So in our instance, that makes a difference. So great example with Councilmember Kirkland, that was one of our mobile units. That machine in particular that you were at did 25 million gallons to date. It went in for its first maintenance. We felt like at 25 million gallons, we should probably do something with this thing. And I think that entire maintenance bill was like $426. It was a bit of paint and a few stickers that came off. And the reason being is because in most wastewater treatment facilities, it's a highly oxidated environment. Everything rusts, everything, because you're dealing with chemicals, you're dealing with so many other things. This eliminates all, exactly. So this eliminates all of those facets to that. Now, over that 10-year period, yes, we do have SLAs, yes, we do have redundancies built in, but a lot of that stuff is also non-perishing. So if you're looking at a typical membrane or a gasket of a pump, that gasket starts deteriorating a lot quicker because of the environment it finds itself in. So your equipment tends to last a lot longer because it doesn't have that really bad environment that you would normally find. Now, on your second question around PFAS removal, so I was a keynote speaker a few years ago at Goldman Sachs, where the EPA actually released their requirement for 4 parts per trillion as the white paper guideline for PFAS in particular. And as you would know, PFAS, or forever chemicals, they're being discovered every single day with a bunch more, and it's just being added. So we're one of the very few companies that can actually destroy PFAS, destroy trace pharmaceuticals, endocrine disruptors, and handle a lot of those wider variety of different things. Now, as Joe, my colleague, rightfully said, there are certain instances, depending on what your feedstock water looks like coming in, that sort of chemical makeup dictates what those things look like. But this technology in itself makes a big difference. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we birthed from a much larger conglomerate, and we kissed every frog underneath the sun when it came to different water treatment technologies, and we've seen it all from top to bottom. So hopefully this is just not another one of those technologies that you've seen in a long period. We've been fortunate that we've won the CS Best of Innovation Award, Time Magazine Best Invention Award, World Future Award, and the first company in the history to win all 3 of them in 1 year as well, not just a water company. And I think that gives testament to what the technology can do. Now, a lot of people ask, how far advanced is the technology? And I always say that we've taken a square wooden wheel and we've made it a round wooden wheel. Still a wooden wheel, but even at wooden wheel standards, it outperforms membranes, filters, UVs, chemicals at a significant pace. And that makes a big difference. And if you look up on your screen over there, you'll see that's where you have the significant savings on that, is that 80% OPEX, because that's where the biggest cost is at the end of the day. The biggest driver of cost is those downtimes. At the facility that you were in, Councilmember Kirkland, they've had multiple downtimes, and that's why they've got 2 twin wastewater treatment facilities, both doing 150,000 gallons, so they can shut down the one, divert the wastewater to the other one, so they can remove the membranes, clean them out, and then put them back again in the recommission. And that's why we're out there helping constantly to try and mitigate some of those flows. Hopefully that answered some of the questions.
It did.
Thank you.
So and I'm sure we're planning to expand in the future, right? So you can add on to your facility, no problem, correct?
It's a modulated technology, yes. If you look at some of our other applications, which are on the screen in 1 second, you'll see everything is designed with a modulated element. So if we need to add in additional secondary type treatment applications, tertiary infection, more advanced dissolved air flotation devices that use micro and nano bubbles as well, we can add these things in, and that gives us the capability. And I think that is, as City Manager was saying a little bit earlier, that provides a big advantage during your expansion to the 8 million gallon per day facility.
Okay. All right.
And hopefully one day we'll have, or not one day, probably in the next 3 to 6 months, we'll have a unit called Shield, which will be readily available for residents for your home, for whole home water filtration and whole home water softening as well.
All right. Cool. All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Council members, we got anything else? All right. Anyone got anything they want to make a motion on?
Motion to approve resolution 2026-2022, or sorry, 22.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Yeah, I thought he was saying more. He just paused on us.
Well, that's all we need, I guess.
Okay, all right.
It's a resolution for this item to enter into negotiations with water regarding direct potable reuse.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes unanimous. Thank you, guys. We appreciate your presentation.
Mayor and Council, you'll see this on the 14th. You will have additional information on the wastewater treatment plant expansion at that point as well.
All right, thank you, Madam City Manager. Agenda item 6C, consider an act to approve resolution R-2026-44 and enter into negotiations with Emergency Services District Number 2 to be able to provide fire services to the City of Bastrop. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have started our budget process. You saw the auditor come in. We finish, we close out the end of the year, we start the audit, we get the consolidated annual financial report, our ACFR, and we understand where we sit. This council has given a direction to make sure that tax rates and fees, utility rates are stable and are low, and that we continue to apply downward pressure. So the question has become the fire department. And so one of the issues, several of the issues that we're facing as we interviewed for a fire chief, you are all aware we have a vacancy for a fire chief. Many of the fire chiefs that we interviewed from across the country all came up with, you need more staff, you need better equipment, you need X, Y, Z. That's very difficult for a city who is 9 square miles. We are adding ad valorem property taxes, but we continue to try to live within our budget so that we're not using every available dime that comes through. There are pressures throughout the city from parks, all of the general fund pressures. Fire competes with police, libraries, parks, all of the things that don't necessarily generate a revenue. We have the upward pressure on staff and the insurance costs and trying to keep that up, and then the equipment. We have a debt payment of about $220,000. That was a 10-year tax note to pay for a fire truck that needs to be replaced every 7 years. And so we had a 3-year overlap somewhere. I think we thought, well, we're only 9 square miles, maybe we won't put that many miles on that truck, and we can get it to 10. There's a complicated ISO rating. It's more than just, okay, maybe we can get it past 3 years. So we began to have the conversation with ESD number 2, and what does that look like? And I fully understand fire is a very, very sensitive topic here with the complex fire. So let's just start with the history. So prior to 2020, the Bastrop Fire Department was completely led by volunteers, and it had a budget a little over $500,000. You had an opportunity to join ESD number 2 at that point in time, but the city made a decision to not join, and so we are a small donut surrounded by Emergency Services District number 2. Our current operational budget is $1.79 million, and our debt payment, again, $220,000, for a total budget of a little over $2 million. Here is the increase of the Bastrop Fire Department, and again, this is not. The Bastrop Fire Department has had one part-time admin person that has been added, and she is shared with IT. We've not added a whole lot of staff. This upward pressure really is training, and it is upward pressure from salaries, retirement, and insurance costs. We've had a 16.64% increase in just the 3 years. And to put that into perspective, the entire fire department, 1 cent in the property tax value raises $178,000. So we're beyond our 10-cent limit. And why is 10 cents important? ESD number 2 is at a 10-cent cap. And so when we talk about how do we keep our property taxes stable, when we talk about how do we do more with less, and how do we partner to extend our resources, it is a natural evolution to get to Emergency Services District number 2. Our city's general fund revenue, this is only the general fund revenue, is $18.168 million. $9 million of that comes from sales tax. $6 million of that comes from the maintenance and operation portion of the property tax. The remainder is composed of fees, fines, and transfers in. Transfers in from the water department, transfers in from BP&L, transfers in from the other enterprise funds that balances the budget. So currently, the fire department is 11.06% of the city's general fund budget and an additional $220,000 worth of debt. So you can begin to see 1 cent in the tax rate is what's going to keep us ahead. This is while I'm trying to balance the need for additional police, the need for additional library staff, library expansions, all of the pressures of the general fund. So we entertained conversations with Emergency Services District number 2. What would that look like? And do the residents really understand who shows up? If it's a red fire truck and ESD is currently occupying the existing firehouse and everything looks the same minus the logo, how would the residents respond to that? And the reality is I don't have an answer to that. And so my proposal is that we enter into a service contract for 1 year with ESD number 2. Now, I will tell you it's going to be probably a net zero positive, and that's simply because ESD also has the same upward pressure of salaries and equipment and debt. The issue is they have a wider surface area to spread that through. And so what does that look like? It does not mean an additional 10 cents to the residents, not in the first year and not in any years thereafter. In order to be fair to the residents, if it is 10 cents that the Emergency Services District is at, then our tax rate would be lowered by 10 cents. What I'm trying to protect is future upward pressure within the general fund that has outward pressures throughout. If the 1 year contract is positive, and the 1 year hopefully would start in October, if the 1 year contract is positive, then we would take it to the voters, and that is a vote in the fall of 2027. So it is not something that the voters will see immediately, and this is essentially a proof of concept. Is it going to work, and do folks understand who actually responds? Right now, our firefighters, it's less about fires and it's a lot about emergency management, both from a partnership agreement, a shared services agreement where we respond, and they respond to a whole heck of a lot of accidents as well. The vast majority of the calls are accidents, and that is that's homage to improvements in the building codes that now have sprinkler systems in the commercial areas. You know, I used to joke with my old firefighters that really you should show up and mop if we did it right. They do more than show up and mop. I'm just going to say that. But Emergency Services District number 3 also would further reduce how many times we're out because, quite frankly, the taxpayers are paying for ESD number 3 to show up. And so this presentation is to feel council out. How do you feel? Should I even consider it? What are your concerns? And do we need to take this out to the residents further?
All right, thank you, Madam City Manager. Council, do we have any discussion for this? Mayor, Councilmember Plunkett.
For me, I certainly don't see anything wrong with talking about it and finding out what the options are. I'm always about options. So if this gives us an ability to make a better decision by learning more, then I'm all for it.
Thank you. Councilmember Lowe.
Yeah, I was just wanted to ask a question about the current firefighters. If we contract with ESD2, do they become ESD employees? And would they still maintain their seniority and benefits?
During the contract period, they're still City of Bastrop employees. It's just a contract for service. We would negotiate that out. We have several who are right near vesting, so we want to make sure that we protect that. We have done a review of benefits. I think some of their benefits are better, actually. The one issue is vesting. I believe ESD number 2 has a 7-year vesting, where ours is a 5-year vesting. We have new firefighters, so I'm not sure that that's an issue, but for a handful of them. But we've been very cognizant of what do the benefits look like and making sure that they can carry over any prior service credit.
And does the ISO rating drop during the?
It should not. No, I would have to leave that to Assistant City Manager Rosales to answer that question. But our plan is not to get rid of that fire department, the
Firehouse.
firehouse that is in, thank you, that is in the downtown area.
Okay.
And just for context, we had a secondary firehouse in Tahitian Village. We sold that to ESD number 2 several years ago.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Lowe. I agree with Councilmember Plunkett that, and just my thoughts on it is just, trying it out for the year to really see what it'll do. And it's better than not trying anything at all. And it allows us to really potentially set us up for the future as far as protection and service for our city. And we can, do some other things with those savings.
From an overall perspective, obviously ESD is funded out of property tax, which is why our tax rate would reduce. There would be no double dip. But it appears that ESD, while they're at 10 cents today, taking in all of the ad valorem in City of Bastrop may reduce a few cents. So it may have a benefit to all of the taxpayers. It's not often that you get a rollback of property tax.
That's what I'm thinking. Thank you. Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you. So kind of what I'm seeing then is we do a trial for a year to see, and then since it is the taxpayers' money, we let them decide, which I'm all about that because they need to have that decision. And speaking with the firefighters, Sylvia, now, is it good for them? Is it good with them? I mean, how do they feel about this?
Some of them are here.
Right, I noticed that. That's why I'm asking that question.
I encourage them to come up and talk to you. I think the concern for everybody is we never have enough money for training. We don't have enough money for new equipment. We don't have enough money for XYZ, which is why when we were having the conversation with any new fire chief that we bring on board, is it fair to bring on a new fire chief and then tie his hands and say, this is the budget that we have to live within? We have a lot of property value coming on board, but that property value never comes on board in the year that we receive it. It takes a little bit of time for us to begin receiving it. We also have additional sales tax that's coming on board that, again, we'll probably recognize in the next budget year. They are looking for some consistency. They're tired of hearing, are we going to get more people? Are we not going to get more people? How many people can we add in a staff contingent? And please, any one of you, please come up to the podium.
Don't be shy.
And have that conversation. I think they're finally looking for, let's just make a decision, and let's make a decision that doesn't affect us negatively.
And I guess that's really what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about y'all because I want to make sure this move, number one, benefits our city the most, but I'm very concerned about y'all too. So I would like to hear, I was wondering if you were here in protest or if you were here in support, thumbs up or down. So I would like to hear something from that. So if somebody would speak, I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, here, I'll be the first because that way they'll follow behind. But I would, speaking to them, I mean, yes, year over year we ask for personnel. I want to give a little perspective we had a fire over the weekend, Sunday night. Came in, Chief, seven something? I want you to know that for the city, there's only 3 firefighters on 48 hours, like they work a 48-96. There's only 3 firefighters on the weekends. And then we have, outside of that, we have the 2 chiefs, which would be myself and the assistant chief. And so we're only here 8 to 5. And so you've got extra resources during the day. It's kind of hard during the weekend when we don't have that. And so had that fire been closer, maybe into town or those kind of things, ESD2, who is our mutual aid, auto aid person, is who's coming to assist us. And they do a great job, and they support us. And so as city manager said, that economy of scale is very important. And we've been asking for personnel. And so there's a decision to make. We need more people as we grow our ISO rating, which is our insurance service organization rating, is what your homeowner's insurance is based off of. And so our current rating right now is a 3, 1 being the best, a 10 being the worst. We're a 3 currently, but the 3 is based on a whole lot of numbers and math based on your one is your water. We have tons of water, so that's not a problem. Hydrants, that's not a problem. The other side of it is stations. We've been needing a station on the west side of town for years. The others is equipment. Your fire truck, you have to have a fire truck within a certain distance. It's usually 5, could be sometimes 3 miles. And so your rating is based on that, and they come evaluate us every so often, and your rating can go down or it can go up. The potential is ours could go down because we're growing to the west, and you're seeing we don't have a station on that side. So as we continue to grow on that side, and us and ESD2 will eventually have to have a station on that side. So ESD2 may have to do, if this goes through and they become our provider, they're going to have to build a station on that side in order to continue to maintain that ISO rating or to better that rating so that your insurance premiums go down. And so that's very important, and we'll have to watch that ISO, and we'll work together. When we did sell Station 2, part of that auto aid agreement worked towards the ISO. So ISO looks at the auto aid agreements and says, okay, y'all have to act, and there's very specific language in those that allow us to continue that rating with ESD2 being the provider over there, but they have to act like us. And so you already kind of see a little bit of this going on, but we really testing it out and making it look good. And the guys understand that, and they are supportive of the decision. They're just, it's a lot of, like what's going on? They've been through a lot of limbo in the last couple months, and so they would like to see some stability at some point. But I think they support it. They support the economy of scale. They support the backing behind it. They work really well already with ESD2. The leadership of ESD2 is very supportive of the department. Is there anything, Chief? Chief Monroe here is with ESD2. Chief Gill is ill tonight. He was going to come and speak, but anything, sir?
No, good evening. My name is Greg Monroe, Battalion Chief for ESD2. I'm just here for Chief Gill. I can give some insight. I'm not going to try to get into anything fiscally. We have a lot to negotiate, of course. But as far as your fear for impact of the employees or the guys and gals on the street it's realistically minimal. We've been fortunate to have very good benefits with ESD2. We have really good leadership. We have a lot of really good plans and growth that we don't have to compete for like the cities do. So our future is a bit more clear. Still cloudy, but we still have a little bit more affirmative movement. I've worked for ESDs my entire career. I'm very familiar with them. I've worked with ESDs that surrounded small cities the same way, and we ran services for the cities as well. But the biggest thing is change. We hate change. We're looking to bring them in, but nothing really changed. As they've said, same people, same station, maybe a different patch, maybe a different color truck or whatever. But this is a natural growth for cities that have fallen behind or, everything's getting more expensive. It's going to be harder for the city to keep up without it sending it to the citizens. So ESD is a model that works, but the only way it works is if you have a successful ESD as close as we are. We do work with the city daily. We have auto aid agreements with them. Half the time, no one knows who we are. No one knows the difference, and that's how it's supposed to be. So it's something that we're excited to look into. We definitely want to negotiate it and work it out. But as I'm trying to talk to the guys tonight, I wouldn't be worried about it one bit.
And this would provide more weekend support also, right? Just here at the house eventually?
We currently already have that model. What I think, if I'm going to speak kind of in the future without the unknowns, is in order for the city and us to run a call, not a fire. A fire is pretty automatic. If it's a collision or a high acuity EMS call or something, they have to call for us. So there is a small delay in contacting dispatch calling us, and we getting in the truck and coming over here. When you're the same agency, the dispatch center just dispatches one agency. So we're already apprised of it, we're already aware of it. So if there's anything that I could say it could potentially help is response for additional units. We additionally, like if they get a call, we cover pretty regularly. And that's from phone calls. It's street level work of the on-duty captain will call me, hey, we're on a collision, can you cover the city? And we do it vice versa. If I'm in Tahitian Village, the station I'm at, hey, we're on a collision, can you keep an air out for Tahitian? So operationally, I'm gonna say the citizens are gonna know nothing at all.
Right. And I'm, you know, it's, all of this is really important, right? What y'all do is important. The training that y'all receive is important. Staying up to par. I've been fortunate enough to work with AFD, right, in my hazmat training, and so have had some good conversations and like being up to snuff on your training only helps when y'all are doing your rescues, right? And hopefully it's all rescues and no retrievals, right? So, but as we continue to grow in this community, you guys or gals are the like important pieces that we need to definitely look out for and support and keep in the forefront of our progress, right? More people brings different things, brings the unknowns. And so just having that preparation so that when something, if it does, in the event anything occurs that's not good, you can be able to snap into action and not have any delay time, because when it's an emergency, every second, every minute counts. So I think this is a great idea, a great opportunity to look into. And if need be, I think, you know, if we go to the citizens eventually, I think they'll support us as well.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Foster has something.
So for the working agreement, if we were to do the working agreement for the year, that hasn't been hashed out yet, like that negotiation begins, right? But it's like guaranteed their jobs, same titles as well, that kind of thing, same, same work, okay. And I do want to acknowledge just like that sense of pride for your local, like, you know, Bastrop Fire Department. Yeah, I just have to say that because I feel it in the room and I have to say it. Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Foster, I want to be real clear that this is not because we don't support our firefighters. In fact, it is because we need to provide them better support, and better support that would cause us to have to go to the voters for a tax rate increase. And I don't want to have to put the voters in the awkward position of having to make a decision. Property values, everybody is struggling here. This is a smarter way to do business, to gain a better economy of scale and give them the training, the equipment, and the staff support that they need.
Good evening. Craig Schmidt, Bastrop Fire Captain. Kind of speaking on behalf of the rest of the firefighters with us. We're open to the idea of negotiating. Our biggest concern is retirement. I'm a few years from it. You know what's going to happen to that. And so the guys that's just starting, obviously they got time to grow with it, but still, hey, they put in a few years here. What's going to happen there? Or PTO, you know, vacation, sick leave, stuff like that. That's the biggest concerns. As far as operationally, we love working with those guys. We do it on every fire. I mean, we'll go out there and assist them. They come in the city and assist us. I don't see no change in operations. It'll be a great thing. The biggest thing is what's going to be right for the city. Is this the best way for us to grow and offer better fire protection, or, you know, do we need to stay the same and let the city grow us? And that comes to taxpayer money.
Right.
So that's pretty much all I got.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it's, you know, we need to, it's for the best for the city, but also to y'all's point, to your point, like, you know, no one wants their life disrupted, their plans disrupted, right? You know, a lot of us, or all of us, we work hard going towards our retirement if we're able to have a job like that, and to have that at risk, or, you know, maybe to have to wait another extra couple of years, you know, it can be disheartening at times, and that's not what we want. We want, you know, happy-go-lucky, ready to protect the city firemen, and not disgruntled because you messing with my pension. So, you know, I'm sure you'll still put the fires out, but, you know, you're just going to be like, so, But anyhow, no, like all of those things I think are things that need to be considered, and I'm confident that those are on our minds.
Yeah. And Mayor, last thing, we would not be the only or the first city to have done this. We've seen this. We've looked when we started researching different contracts and different negotiation points. Other cities, Parker County is a great example. They've done this, and we've reached out to that ESD chief, and he's willing to come in and help. He transitioned 2 cities into an ESD and took over their fire services, and he's willing to come help. Our attorney has worked through some of those too as well, and so we have some experts that we're going to reach out to that we can utilize to help work us through these processes.
All right, thank you. And one more time, thank you guys for keeping our city safe and battling that fire this weekend as well. Appreciate it. All right. Council?
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution R 2026-44 and enter into negotiations with the Emergency Service District Number 2 to provide fire services to the City of Bastrop.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you. All right, we can finally get down to some other business. Citizen comments. I have quite a bit, but I think most of them just been sent in. Not a lot of them have to speak. The first one we'll do is, I almost did it again, and she would have fussed at me if I'd have put this handle on it. Rita Ward, who, by the way, last Saturday, can I give your age, please? Or no, I don't have to. She just celebrated her birthday, y'all. I'll let her determine if she wants to give her age, but
I
for
turned
her
59.
59, she turned 59, y'all. So
I lie.
well, I didn't say you were under oath, so I think you're all right.
Well, gosh, since I've lost my eyesight, I can't read, and all I can do is talk to people and hear things. And since I haven't been in Bastrop, I've heard a lot of things. And one thing that came up was that they wanted to rename 969 for little Charlie Kirk, which that was something that should not have happened. But I think if you're going to rename a street here or anywhere, you could do like they did on 2222 there in Austin, which is also known as Caney Lane or Koenig, whichever you want to call it. And that way, people don't have to change their addresses and everything, but you can still honor the person, by doing that. And then the water, of course, I love talking about water. Y'all all know that. And there where I live in Riverwood, I measured it, and I waste 5 gallons of water a day trying to get hot water in my sink or in my bathroom. I measured it, and there's 36 apartments there. And just think, multiplied that every day, how much water we are wasting there in those apartments. And that's, we need to think about that. I don't know how it would be remedied. But also, the growth, with the new things that's coming into Austin, we are going to be flooded with people coming to Bastrop County. And we need to be prepared for it. And I was noticing that the apartment buildings, if they could do this, anything over 2 stories, if they could put elevators in there, because there's a lot of people. I would love to live in those apartments out there by Lowe's. They're just a teeny bit higher than what I am paying now there at Riverwood. And I would love to live there, but there's no elevator. And if some way you could get somewhere or other where the apartments that are coming in that's over 2 stories to have elevators, this would really help a lot of us old people. I'm not old yet.
You're not old, you're 59.
But anyway, that's some of the things that I've been thinking about. And of course, water, any way that we can save our water, we've got to do it. My husband said in 2014, we're in a 20-year drought. I have seen a 40-plus year drought in Colorado. They got some snow this year. How much was wet snow and how much is dry snow, I do not know. But that water goes to the Colorado and the Arkansas. And New Mexico, we're in a big drought all over. And we've just got to really, I don't know how we're going to solve the water situation, really and truly. But anyway, I'm so glad to be back in Bastrop and get rid of my wheelchair, and here I am.
All right, thank you. We're glad you made it back in here tonight.
And I love you all.
Love you too, Rita. Thank you. All right, next I have Venkat Malloy.
Next time, sir.
Oh, you don't want to speak? You don't want to? I can
It's related
just.
to the 9B.
Right.
But, I have a PPT that I sent, which is not here.
Okay, so we'll scratch your comment for the night.
Next time.
Okay, we got that, Michael? Okay. It'll be like number 2 on the list. Okay, all right. We have several citizens who have got online, submitted comments, and so I'll go through those, whether they wish to speak or not, and what they're in support or opposition of. So I have Thomas Hoover. He does not wish to speak, but he would like to record his support on the Bastrop Development Code. I have Judith Hoover. She does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support for the Bastrop Development Code. All right, I have 2 of those for some odd reason, but both Thomas and Judith Hoover support of the Development Code. Maybe they wanted to double down and let everybody know that they're in support of it, which is cool. No one said you can't vote twice with this. All right, Dee Turnbull does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her opposition and enter into negotiations with the Emergency Services Number 2 to provide fire services to the City of Bastrop. Brenda Fowler does not wish to speak, but would like to record her support for agenda item 9A, 9B, 9C, 9D, and 9E. Jason Briggs does not wish to speak, but would like to record his opposition on item 6C, entering into negotiation with ESD2 to provide fire services to the City of Bastrop. Nicole Briggs does not wish to speak, but would like to record her opposition to agenda item 6C, entering into negotiation with ESD2 to provide services to the City of Bastrop. Marie Rocky does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her opposition to agenda item 6C, entered into negotiations with the Emergency Service District Number 2 to provide services to the City of Bastrop. Derek Quinn does not wish to speak, but would like to record his support for agenda item 9B. I am in favor of adopting a new development code to allow for new growth in the City of Bastrop without rigorous restriction preventing sales tax generating businesses to come to Bastrop. I have James Orley Yield. I believe I said that correctly. Hope I did. My apologies if I did not. Does not wish to speak, but would like to record his support for agenda item 9B. Beho Matthew does not wish to speak, but would like to record his support for agenda item 9B. Charwavila Matthew does not wish to speak, but would like to record his support for agenda item 9B. Alex Thomas does not wish to speak, but would like to record his support for agenda item 9B. Abraham Joseph does not wish to speak. He did not, he did see it here. He wishes to record his support for agenda item 9B. And Austin Bastrop LLC does not wish to speak, but they would like to show their support for agenda 9B. All right. Christy Koch does not wish to speak, but she would like to record her support for agenda item 9B. I'm strongly in favor of adopting a new building code. Joy Nahara does not wish to speak, but he would like to record his support for agenda item 9B. Gary Schiff does not wish to speak, but would like to record his support for agenda item 9B. Jimmy Crouch wishes to speak on agenda item 9C. Well, we'll go with 9B first. But we can wait, or you want to do it in citizen comments? Would you rather do it at the time of the agenda item? Okay. That's going to be for 9B and 9C, Jimmy? All right, sounds good. All right, everyone, that is it for our citizen comments. Oh, we have another one. Thank you, Michael. All right, we have Carol Reynolds. She wishes to speak on agenda item 9C. You want to wait till, you want to do it now, or? Oh, you trying to go home. That's what you're trying to do. All right, Carol, come on.
Okay.
Please introduce yourself, let us know where you stay, and you'll have 3 minutes to talk.
Sure. My name is Carol Reynolds. I live at 1712 Farm Street here in Bastrop, Texas. I just wanted to speak briefly about the Bastrop Development Code. I went to the last planning and zoning meeting and listened to everything, and I read the code. I understand the need for it, and I appreciate the rewrites for the most part. There's just one section, 14.02.005, the restrictions on dwellings. There was quite a bit of discussion about it in the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, and I tend to agree that this is a little too restrictive for certain parts of Bastrop. I understand if in the historic district where there's less space availability and maybe more aesthetic concerns about what's going on there, that might be something that appeals to them, but I live intentionally outside of that area. And I know there are others who have intentionally bought outside of those manicured spaces, and I think, you know, for me and my family, what matters more is doing what makes sense for us on our property. And I think this goes too far in my personal taste in being restrictive on what I can and can't do on my property. So that's all. But thank you all for the time, and yeah.
All right, thank you, Carol. Appreciate it. All right, no more citizen comments. All right, thank you. Okay, on to consent agenda items. All matters, and thank you all for your citizen comments. Thank you for sending them in. They're all duly noted and appreciated. Consent agenda items. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council members, do we have any that we need to pull?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Yes, what? Wait a minute. Hold up.
I said I'm waiting for lightning to strike.
Oh, hey, look. You see how I just kind of, try to gingerly go on right through that, I did just some checks. Okay, we good. Let's go ahead to items for individual consideration. All right. Agenda item 9A, conduct a public hearing to consider an act on the first reading of ordinance number 2026-05, a request for a zoning concept scheme to rezone the project site from P3 neighborhood to P5 core, and for the area to be described, the area described as being 2.5 acres out of the building block 120 east of Jackson Street, located at 1811 Jasper Street, within the city limits of Bastrop. Hey, Brittany, how are you? Texas, and move along on the April 14th, 2026 City Council meeting, second reading. She was up here before I knew it. All right, Miss Brittany, let's go.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So up on the screen, just a second. This is the wrong PowerPoint. Don't know how that happened. Here we go. So up on the screen is the location map and the place type zoning map. The subject site is located east of Jackson Street and south of Jasper Street. This is right behind the county building and south of the QT. There is civic land use to the west, commercial land use to the northwest, and vacant land use in all other directions. The subject site is currently zoned, place type P3 neighborhood. To the north is P5 core, to the east and south is P3 neighborhood, and to the west is a PDD. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from P3 neighborhood to P5 core in order to develop a new administration office building and related infrastructure for the new ESD number 3. A zoning of P5 core would allow for the building type of commercial, which is what is required for the desired use of the property. On the screen is their submitted concept scheme, and then their concept elevations. And then the B3 code does have 6 different criteria to consider for rezoning requests, and staff generally considers this request to be consistent with all of the criteria. It is also supported by our future land use map, which designates this parcel as corridor commercial. And our recommendation is approval, but we're happy to answer any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
So this is still, it's going to have to do a tree survey and drainage plans and all that stuff, right?
Yes, so they did submit a tree survey already along with the concept plan, but mitigation requirements come at the time of site plan or when they start disturbing land.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we don't have anything? Okay. It is 8:57, and I am opening up the public hearing. Does anyone have anything? No? All right. We're going to close the public hearing. All right. Council, do we have any more discussion?
Move to approve.
Second. All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you, Council. I'm going to save my thank you for you after the next one. All right. 9B, after we get through these 4. Conduct a public hearing. 9B, to consider and act on the first reading of ordinance number 2026-06, repealing the Bastrop Building Block Code, current Unified Development Code, and adopting the Bastrop Development Code, BDC, as Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances as shown in Exhibit A, and move to include on the April 14th City Council meeting for the second reading. Ms. Brittany?
Yes. All right, so I'm going to try and do a succinct overview. I know a lot of people in this room have already heard this presentation, and we've gone through multiple workshops already. However, tonight is the first reading of this ordinance, which would repeal the Bastrop Code, or the B3 Code, and adopt the new Bastrop Development Code as Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances. This BDC, or Bastrop Development Code, is still a partial unified development code, but it's more focused and easier to administer. It includes the city's zoning regulations, sign regulations, tree preservation, historic preservation, and flood hazard regulations. The biggest policy shift we are moving away from the current code is that the B3 code is a form-based code and primarily emphasizes regulation of building form and design, and the proposed code returns to a more traditional use-based zoning framework, which clearly regulates land uses by district. At the same time, we address downtown and other context-sensitive areas through new overlay districts. The city's comprehensive plan and future land use map were updated last year in May, and that was an important foundation for this code update. Particularly, the new zoning districts were structured to align more closely with the future land use designations on the future land use map. Now, this slide shows how the Bastrop Development Code is organized. The code is divided into clear articles. The goal was to create a code that was more easy to understand and administer for both staff and for applicants. The proposed code does use a crosswalk to convert existing B3 place types to the closest comparable new zoning districts under the framework, rather than a full citywide rezoning. You may notice we are also proposing 3 single-family zoning districts in place of the current P3 neighborhood designation. Everything that is P3 neighborhood right now would automatically zone to SF1 or low density single family with the 1/3 acre minimum lot size, which is the current lot size requirement for P3. The higher density single family designations would be available upon individual rezoning requests. Now, this is our current place type map. And then along with this transition, we would transition to this new zoning map. And then under the B3 code, dimensional standards relied more on build to lines, which mandated buildings to be built closer to the streets. And then, like I said, the building form and minimum lot size was not originally regulated under this code. The proposed code shifts to more traditional dimensional standards by clearly establishing lot size, lot width, setbacks, height, stories, impervious cover by each zoning district. All recent amendments to the B3 code are preserved as far as impervious cover and lot size, which was adopted last year, while also adding lot sizes and setback requirements where there were none prior. One change to highlight here is that the impervious cover was reduced in the industrial district from 80 to 65%. But all the other zoning districts stayed the same. One of the biggest changes in the proposed code is the table of permitted uses. The current B3 code did not regulate land uses through use table. So this is a new tool that clearly shows whether a use is permitted by rights, allowed only through conditional use permits, or not permitted in that zoning district. Once property zoning district is identified on the map, the user can then find that use in the table. A conditional use permit, or CUP, is also a reintroduced process for Bastrop, allowing certain uses to be considered through additional public review and city council approval, with conditions when needed to address compatibility issues. This is also a much more typical zoning approach in Texas and across the country, where conventional zoning generally regulates uses by district, while form-based codes are more commonly used in targeted areas such as downtown. Another important thing to highlight through this transition is nonconformities, and this table of permitted uses is majorly why we had to send out this notice to every property owner in the city. However, if it is an existing lawful use, lot, or structure today that doesn't fully match the new code after adoption, that does not mean it must shut down or change immediately. In most cases, it can continue to exist as a legal nonconformity until that point where they're significantly expanded, and then new additions must meet the new code to a certain extent. And then urban farming was one of the items discussed during this process at some of the workshops we had late last year, but based on legal counsel's advice, staff is no longer recommending detailed farming regulations within the zoning code due to state law sensitivities around agriculture. The intent with this is not to prohibit urban farming. Instead, the approach is to address potential impacts through the city's existing nuisance ordinance, animal control, lighting, and special event regulations. All right, another key part of the new code is the use of overlay districts, where we're proposing 3 new overlay districts. The benefit of this is rather than applying one uniform standard everywhere, overlays add tailored rules in areas that need more context-sensitive treatment. In Bastrop, that's especially important in and around downtown. The overlays help preserve historic character, support Main Street design goals, and address unique development pattern within District 1832. So the first overlay district is 1832, which captures the large historic residential area in Bastrop and is intended to preserve the traditional development pattern in this area while still working within the new zoning framework. It applies additional standards to help protect the historic block structure, maintain a more contextual relationship between buildings and the streets, and allows limited flexibility for mixed use and neighborhood serving activity. Within this overlay, single-family areas generally keep the 1/3 acre minimum lot size, meaning the rezoning to SF2 or SF3, those higher density zoning districts, would not be an option in this district. But they also have the option of the neighborhood contextual setbacks if they don't align with the stated setbacks within the underlying zoning district. Mixed-use areas, also generally, we want to keep the 1/3 acre minimum lot size in this district. And as for uses, certain commercial uses that we have identified as more controversial uses may still be considered through a conditional use permit, while the higher impact uses would be prohibited. All right, the next overlay district is our downtown Bastrop district, and this models our Main Street program area. So the boundaries are the same for that, and it captures the Chestnut commercial corridor more. Within the downtown Bastrop Main Street area, the code adds more tailored standards to support the scale and the character of the commercial downtown. Conditional use permits in this area would also include a recommendation from the Main Street Advisory Board as a part of the review process. The overlay also limits large building footprints to help preserve a smaller scale, pedestrian-oriented environment. Along Chestnut, it requires a build-to relationship closer to the street and prevents new parking in front of buildings, and it also allows some flexibility in sign design through the Main Street review process. And then we worked with the Main Street Advisory Board on potentially bringing forward some design guidelines for this district. Within downtown Bastrop District, the draft design guidelines encourage new development to be compatible with the character of the area without requiring the historic imitation outside the main historic district. So they do support buildings that reflect more local or hill country influences that we modeled after existing architecture in the area, like the Lost Pines Art Center. The overall focus for the design guidelines in this area is on compatible scale, proportions, storefront design, and authentic materials so the new development fits into downtown's character while still allowing flexibility in architectural style and non-historic areas and properties. And these design guidelines were originally discussed with the board as mandatory, particularly to help quality development along the Chestnut corridor. However, after further discussion about legal and administrative processes, and after looking at how other Texas Main Street communities typically handle design review, staff is recommending that they be included as optional for now. However, this does give the city a starting point for design expectations while allowing more time to evaluate more appropriate long-term approach for design regulation in this area and potential incentives that we may be able to offer. All right, and then the last overlay district is our downtown historic district, which is on our national register. The boundaries of this district are not changing at this time. However, it has been discussed that we would like to go back to the National Register and potentially get those boundaries expanded in the near future. But within this district, the code keeps more form-based building standards from the B3 code. such as no building setbacks, rear parking, and the limited height and no minimum lot sizes. This area also remains subject to the Historic Preservation Ordinance, so the proposed work must be reviewed by a Historic Landmark Commission and approved through a Certificate of Appropriateness. Design guidelines for the historic district and other historic properties within the city have also been reevaluated with Historic Landmark Commission and updated. So the design guidelines are included in the appendix for this as well. These design guidelines rely on the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, and the goal is to preserve the original materials, architectural character, rather than introduce any changes that could damage or diminish the historic resource. The main addition to their design guidelines in the historic district is the color palette guidance. So the Historic Landmark Commission did wish to have a say in color palettes for these historic properties, specifically in the National Downtown Districts. The intent for this is to reinforce the historic character of the downtown buildings by encouraging colors that are appropriate to late 19th century or early 20th century period. And then, of course, painting of previously unpainted brick is always strongly discouraged. All right, and then that's it for the overlay districts, and moving on to more of the district requirements. Parking. Parking is addressed more clearly in this new code with both stall sizes and use-based ratios. For the stall sizes, residential parking is proposed at 9 feet by 20 feet and commercial parking at 9 by 18. Currently, we have a standard 10 by 20 stall size requirement. Then for residential uses, we generally require 1 space per bedroom. That is also the current requirement, while commercial uses do not currently have any requirements for number of parking spaces. So we did add a parking table based on type of use, such as retail, restaurant, or office space. Another new item in the proposed code is the addition of the traffic impact analysis triggers. A TIA would be required when a project is expected to generate 100 or more new peak hour trips or 1,000 or more new average daily trips, when the city identifies a safety or operational concern. The code also clarifies when that study must be submitted, whether that be at the time of rezoning, PDD, plat, or site development plan, whichever comes first or whenever that trigger is first met. And then ADUs would continue to be allowed in the rural, residential, and mixed-use districts. This draft allows for 1 ADU in single-family districts and up to 2 in rural and mixed-use districts, provided the site can still meet all parking and impervious cover requirements. The code also keeps the maximum height at 24 feet, which is intended to allow the 2-story ADU configuration, such as a living unit above a garage, while still maintaining compatibility with the site. And then next we have the landscaping requirements, which is another big update. Under the B3 code, landscaping requirements were fairly limited. A landscape plan was only required in the core place types, and the code did not clearly establish any minimum amounts, locations, or quality standards for landscaping. It also focused heavily on street trees in the public right-of-way rather than stronger on-site landscaping standards. There's no requirements for parking lot landscaping, buffers between different uses, or corridors. This practice often led to trees being planted in more narrow or constrained areas where they struggled over time and created more maintenance issues for the city. All right, so here the proposed code does set clear minimum landscaping standards based on the development type. Rather than leaving landscaping mostly undefined, the code requires a baseline amount of planted area on the site. In general, small multifamily, commercial, office, institutional, or mixed uses would require 20% landscaping on sites, where larger multifamily would be 25% and industrial at 10%. The proposed code also goes beyond just setting the minimum amount of landscaping and also explains where that landscaping should go and what it should do. It creates a 10-foot landscape band along streets on the private property behind the sidewalk. This helps avoid the narrow landscaping strips in the right-of-way and places the maintenance on the property owner. It also sets clear standards for parking lot landscaping, buffers between unlike land uses, screening, and landscaping along major corridors. And then our tree preservation and mitigation are also carried forward in the proposed code, but it is organized more clearly and in one place. It was located in 3 different places prior, so this kind of helps the organization. It did include more detailed requirements for the tree surveys, including proposing a preliminary tree survey at the time of PDDs and mitigation finalized at the time of land disturbance, rather than all up front. It also compiles recent, I already said that, adds critical use zone protection standards, which we didn't have before, so that's pretty important, and provides credits for preserving smaller trees under 10 inches. And I just wanted to clarify the plant list. There are 2 plant lists now. Appendix A keeps the city's existing native, protected, and invasive species plant list. This one is meant to accompany the tree preservation and mitigation ordinance, so it lists all the protected trees that require mitigation. Appendix B is new, and it serves as the preferred plant list for new landscaping. So this is mostly to guide new plantings on site that are more suited to urban and constrained conditions, such as in a parking lot or along urban streets. And it does contain a lot of the same native species where appropriate. The proposed sign ordinance has also been reworked to be clearer and more predictable, so it's easier to understand what types of signs are allowed in different areas of the city. It also put more emphasis on the context so signs can better fit their surroundings while using simpler measurement standards for size and heights. Along the state highway corridors, the sign code now allows pylon signs along all all TxDOT roads, where previously it only allowed it along State Highway 71. The draft also anticipates the need for a designated signboard in order to hear sign variances, so that's something we'll have to do as well. This code also incorporates the special flood hazard area regulations. These apply to FEMA mapped floodplain and floodway areas where flood risk is higher. The purpose of this is to provide or better protect life and property, reduce future flood losses, and support long-term community resilience. Within the floodplain, the proposed code now requires a more conservation-focused approach. Floodway areas and land below base flood elevation are intended to remain open and protected where possible, rather than built upon. New principal structures are generally not allowed unless there is no other reasonable buildable area on the site, and even then, strict limits would apply. The code also requires riparian buffers, compensatory storage for larger fill or excavation activity, and elevation on foundation rather than pad fill on the site. The code also addresses subdivision in the floodplain to encourage lots to be clustered outside the floodplain while preserving flood-prone land as open space. Plats must clearly show floodplain boundaries and easements, and the code allows density to be shifted to the upland areas. So the goal is to support a smarter subdivision design in exchange for allowing smaller lot sizes. And then on administration and procedures, this draft makes several process changes to simplify and standardize how the code is applied. Rezoning would no longer require a concept plan. Certain high-impact uses would go through a new conditional use process that we talked about, and minor adjustments to the standards could be handled through administrative relief if it falls under the 10% threshold. The draft also returns variances to the Zoning Board of Adjustment rather than using the current warrant process. All right, and then the next few slides are some comments we've received in the last week on the code. The EDC did host a stakeholder roundtable discussion last week. And then this discussion did include about 25 participants, including developers, engineers, surveyors, and real estate professionals. Some of the main comments included whether the general commercial district should allow more mixed-use flexibility, whether the timing of traffic studies should be clarified, particularly at the time of rezoning, when that's going to be required, whether residential parking standards should be readjusted, and whether there should be earlier neighborhood discussion or town halls for larger or more sensitive projects to avoid costly early investments for projects that will eventually not be approved. And then these next two slides are comments we've received from council. A lot of the comments were minor in nature, included formatting corrections, grammar errors, word changes. All of these can be addressed at the administrative level. The particular policy items that were brought up included that restriction on dwelling section, so we can go through that. Also, the 2.5-story or potential to add a 2.5-story cap to the Parks and Open Space District. We currently just regulate the height in feet in that district. And then a couple more in the Planning Commission procedures, whether we should reference the city's code of ethics rather than the general Texas local government code, or whether cluster land development should be allowed in SF3, which would potentially allow lot sizes less than 5,000 square feet. At its February 26th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item and recommended the repeal of the B3 code and the adoption of the new Bastrop Development Code by a vote of 4-2. The commission also asked staff to take a closer look at section 14.02.005, restrictions on dwellings, and bring back an updated recommendation to City Council on that section. For that, we're going to let our city attorney address those concerns and any updated recommendations. But that's all that I had for my presentation, and if he wanted to address that now, or if you want to wait until after the discussion, we can do that.
Councilmember Meyer.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Brittany. I just really want to thank all of Development Services. I think probably almost 3 years we've been biting at this elephant, right? And it's been a lot of work on y'all's part, and I really thank you. And I think the huge amount of public input and all the public meetings we've had and all the boards and all the board work we've done, and I think it's encompassed every board there is and every meeting and the multi meetings everyone has gone to. And thank you, Sylvia, also, because this has been such a long needed process. I will tell you, the word B3 now is a curse word. So if I want to cuss, I just say B3, and that comes out of my mouth automatically. So this couldn't come, in my opinion, happen soon enough, and I'm so thankful this is the first step in finalizing eventually this nail in the coffin called B3. But and also on the urban farming, thank you for putting that with the nuisances and the codes. That really makes a lot of sense, Brittany. So I appreciate how you maneuver. I know that was the big issue with our joint meeting, so thank you so much for solving that. So the biggest elephant to me right now in the room that you just referred to is 1402.005. So if we could hear from our city attorney on that item.
Can I have some more specifics, like specifically, is there a question about it?
Well, Brittany brought it up. Councilmember Myers brought it up. Carol's gone, but she brought it up. So
As it relates to occupancy limits.
Right.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I'm familiar. I'm just like, but is there a specific question? Is it enforceable? I mean, I provided did they get my memorandum? So I provided a legal memorandum. Are you asking for legal advice? Do we need to go into closed session? That's really what I'm asking.
So yes, I would like your legal advice on that. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, then that's something I'd prefer not to give in open session. That's something I prefer to give in closed session, to give my legal guidance on occupancy.
And thank you, and I appreciate, because I was at the planning and zoning meeting when they discussed it and brought it up. And I think there were some important points that you mentioned at that meeting. So
can do that.
could you do that? That would be great.
I'm
We
trying
can
to remember
also-
what those points were.
We could also break into executive session if you needed that conversation in executive session.
Yeah, my recollection is that I made clear that this wasn't something I was driving or something that the staff was driving, that in reviewing the ordinance, that there was a gap in, that would allow any number of occupants to live in a residential home. And I've seen that become problems in other communities. And so I caught that, I flagged it, I recommended some language that I wasn't trying to dictate policy with that language, but it was just, you know, it can be revised however. But that language was used in another community. It is supportable under I'm very comfortable saying that language is supportable under the case law. It's supportable under the constitutional structures and can be utilized. However, it's not required. Nothing requires you to place occupancy limits in a home. There are building codes that do certain things. The property code actually limits the occupancy of adults in a tenant. If someone's leasing a home to a tenant, the property code allows up to 3 adults per room. It doesn't limit the number of children, simply adults. And it's only landlord-tenant law. It's not. It doesn't apply to a residence that's not being leased out. Is that helpful? Yes. Okay.
Thank you. And I just mainly wanted, you know, as always, sadly, a lot of things are said that are so not true and put on social media that are so not true. And the City of Bastrop is not trying to regulate how many children you have. So let's just make sure everybody understands that, because that's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. So, but thank you, Charlie, for that. I appreciate it.
Hey, real quick, Council, I'm just going to open up the public hearing and then see if anyone, and then we can resume discussion. So it's 9:26. I'm going to open up the public hearing. Do we have anyone that would like to discuss anything? Any comments? Wait, we do have comments, actually. Jimmy. There's 9. B. Yes. Jimmy? Oh, you want to speak now too?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I thought earlier when you said you didn't want to speak, you weren't going to speak, but now you want
I
to.
didn't know the process. I have a slide deck which I gave, but they said it may be used next time. So
Okay.
that's why I pulled myself back. But going through this, I had a couple of suggestions, if it's okay.
Okay.
Or I can talk next time.
No, I don't want to take away your right to be able to speak. So if you're going to speak on agenda item 9B, then by far, go ahead.
Yeah.
That's what the
Quickly,
public hearing is
I'll
for.
keep it- make
Just
it quick.
please just introduce yourself,
Yeah.
and we'll give you 3 minutes.
Sure. My name is Venkat Malia, and I own multiple lots here. So most of the council members know me because of the Gateway project. Okay. Such a couple of suggestions. Okay. One is City of Detroit is moving towards residential plus retail. So my suggestion is cities evolve. You know, there should be a downward compatibility between P5 to P4, commercial to multifamily with retail at the bottom. So progressive, you know, a little bit progressive, what other cities have seen, what others are doing. If you go to South Congress, you will see only 4 stories and retail at the bottom. So it earns money, gives facilities, at the same time there is residential. If it's pure residential as per the multifamily code, may not be a great, so mixed use, but downward compatibility of your commercial to residential, where it becomes mixed use. So that's one suggestion I have, downward compatibility. Looks like it's a strict rule. Secondly, process point of view, I'll speak about it next time also. 95% of the time I spent with City of Bastrop, initially was wasted because of last 5%. Last 5% was emotional. First 95% was code-driven, right? My recommendation is reverse the wave, meaning I'm talking of large projects, have a solid concept, and then all the details, let it come to the council, zoning, and the people. Bring the people from back to front and make a go, no go. Or tell the developers how to make it work. Right? See, what was missing with my case was council never came up and said how to make this work. The people were the jury, council was the judge, rejection culture. But I never saw council stepping forward, welcome, let's see how we can make this work. So in other words, if your process, bring people to the front, have a concept discussion, city team is involved, development team, and then make a decision, go, no go, or give inputs. That is the emotional box. I call it one as the process-driven, hardcore, your development code box. You have rules. So once that is done, TIA, drainage, tree, topo, mandatory. Every developer goes through once principally agreed. Then they go through the entire detailed studies, all studies. Then detailed construction design, next box, zoning approval, council approval, or else circle back saying that change it, not okay. But within the code, everything is code driven, scientific, no emotions. That's my only suggestion. Reverse the wave of your approval. It will save about 85% of developers' time and money, and 85% of the development team's time. You know, that's my biggest suggestion. I have a PPT deck on this. I'll present it next time again, and everyone will be happy because otherwise it would be very frustrating with the experience we went through.
Okay.
I'm just trying to tie into the code. Okay, I have a deck on this. I'll present it again. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Jimmy. Jimmy Crouch wishes to speak on agenda item 9B. Please introduce yourself and...
Am I the only one freezing in here?
No, I don't know. I feel great.
It's got to be the chair.
This is the hot seat, so you know these are warm up here. There's nothing cold about this area.
Okay. Jimmy Crouch, 605 Buttonwood Street. And I wanted to just come up and speak in favor of the new building code. It's been a long time in the process. I heard all the names that you were saying that were speaking in favor on the list earlier, and probably 80 or 90% of those people are in the building or development business, or subcontractors, or remodelers, or people that have had problems trying to work within the B3 code. And so that's positive, I think, that for a good reason to get rid of it. So the thing I really wanted to do is to just ask you to please not kick the can down the road. And we've been kicking it down the road for 5 years. That I have experience with, it's been 5 years. And there's been so many people speaking against it that I just hope we can finally get rid of it. Let's see. The building community has been providing recommendations for repair and replacement, either through conversations with consultants, meetings, or just responses to the city in general. The city needs a new baseline building code to work from. Building codes really should be living codes so that they can be modified as you're going and changed. But the code that we currently have is not a good base to work with. The new Bastrop Development Code, from what I've read, is a lot better starting point. So if you have amendments or if you need variances, we'll have a lot better starting point. Just a quick example. We do not need a building code that takes 27 variances to build something. The example that I'm going to use is Burleson Crossing East, where Longhorn Steakhouse and Sprouts is. That development took 27 variances to build. And you can't even tell if you were to look across the street where Lowe's is and look where this new development is, there's no difference to the average person. Nobody would know that you had to go through 27 variances to get that built. That also cost not just the developer, but the city millions of dollars. It cost the delay cost, the timing of the delay during COVID, when the thing could have been built in 2020. So it was, crap.
Go ahead and wrap it up. You started going on the tangent. That's when you lost your time.
Yeah,
just bring it on back in. And
when you start talking about losing money,
yeah,
millions of dollars,
you kind of earled on us. But
I just had like two more lines. You want me to? I can sit down. I mean, no,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I think everybody gets what it is.
We do.
Okay.
All right. Well, okay. Thank you, Jimmy. It's up to you. I didn't want to take it from you. All right. Thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate it. All right. Anyone else have anything to say? All right. 9:35. I'm closing the public hearing. Okay, council. Any further discussion? I know we had several lights that were on before we opened up the public hearing. So, Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
So in our rules of procedure, Mayor, at this point, since we've completed the asking questions, we would make a motion.
We still can have some discussion, right? Do we have discussion?
No, our rules of procedure require a motion before discussion.
Well,
The discussion before the motion is questions to staff.
Okay, well, so I wasn't sure, right, if staff was going to ask questions, right, when you came over here and got in my ear, so I was going to allow everyone to maybe have a question for staff, but it was a little elongated, so I felt the need to do the public hearing. I don't want to take away any questions from council that they might have asked, right? Yeah. So, I mean, but we can go ahead and go with the motion.
So to kick this off, and I'm even going to modify my motion by the time we're done. Let's start off with a motion to approve ordinance number 2026-07, adopting a comprehensive, no, wrong one, sorry. Motion to approve ordinance number 2026-06, repealing the Bastrop Building Code, current Unified Development Code, and adopting the Bastrop Development Code, or BDC, as Chapter 14 in the Code of Ordinances.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
We have lots of discussion.
No discussion. Sorry, discussion. Councilmember Plunkett.
Yeah, I reread 14.02.005 with the restrictions on number of people that can live in a dwelling, and I tend to agree that it is a bit restrictive. And I've been sitting here trying to think of a way to make it a little bit more palatable. And how would we do if we just changed the word smaller at the beginning of it said the smaller of the three math problems, and change that to the word larger? How would that do for us? Does anybody have any?
Anyone? Mayor, Councilmember Lowe?
Well, I mean, I we have to think about why we're actually doing it. You know what I mean? What is it? What are we trying to avoid? And I think what we're trying to avoid is Delta House. You know what I mean? I think that's what we're trying to avoid. So if we're worried about space and cars blocking and stuff like that, it probably should be a code deal, where it's a code where we're ticketing cars and we're not looking at people in houses. If that's what we're looking at, is that what we're going for? Is that what we're trying to avoid?
Well, most of the folks in Delta House don't have cars.
Yeah, they don't.
Remember, we're a walkable community. Remember, we're walking to Lowe's with our 2x4s.
So, I mean.
So it may or may not be a parking issue only. That's what's going to be the impetus for somebody to give us a call 9 times out of 10, because they're going to say there's too many cars parked there. But it's, especially in a time, you heard the presentation on affordable housing and how many people actually share a home to make ends meet.
Right.
In the normal course, there's probably nothing wrong with that. It's what happens when that gets 3 and 4 and 5 adults per bedroom, and you've got 20 people living in a single family house, which, happens a lot down south when oil prices, get it going, so. And we do have mechanisms to address the nuisance stuff, the noise, those kinds of things. We absolutely do have that. Again, prompting a conversation, and if those cars are all parked on the street, they're not really breaking any law. It is just one more tool to be able to address.
It's just, whether we can get emergency vehicles and police and things. I mean, if it comes to that, I think it would. It's something that would be enforceable by a code, as opposed to kind of the gray area of like where we're regulating families.
Well, no, it's not meant to regulate families. It's meant to.
Well, I mean, that's what's been
well,
said.
that's what folks are saying. But
Right.
let's talk about the fire truck who can't get down the road because said Delta House has 25 cars parked all over the place, or they can't get there because of blank. We don't normally create rules for an exception. It is the norm, and unfortunately, we're in such a fast growth area with such a demand for housing that this may become the norm. And it is really just a way to protect our single-family neighborhoods.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland, you got anything else to add?
Yes, I do. Not on this particular topic. I don't know, I've kind of thought about it, but I don't have I understand some of the problems we're trying to prevent. And philosophically, you put restrictions in single-family areas because you're trying to protect the neighbors from having to make the complaints. Or you're trying to give it teeth so that if complaints are made, that you can have some means to fix it. But some of the things that I would like to discuss for, amendments of the underlying development code that we have in front of us. The first one has to do with parking. It changed the residential parking place from 10 by 20 to 9 by 20. And I would like to take it back to 10 by 20 and also add that a parking space cannot block a sidewalk. For the commercial at 9 by 18, no problem. Those are the ones that we've had to create variances for lately. But the, a 10 by 20 parking space, you get 2 of them for a 2-car garage at 20 by 20. That is the hardcore minimum you would put in a 2-car garage. And then also you're talking about the width of the driveway. Again, 20 feet for the width of the driveway is an absolute minimum. And so that's what you get with a 10 by 20 parking space. And so saying that we want to do 9 by 20 and allow for 18-foot driveways and 18-foot wide garages, it's just crazy. And by the way, I also believe this is not big enough. 10 by 20 is not big enough. It should be wider than that. But as a minimum, I'm willing to say we can go with 10 by 20. Because the smallest garages, 2-car garages, come in at 20 by 20.
Yeah, and the 10 by 20 allows for different people, different walks of life to be able to have room to get in and out of their vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone can barely open up their door like at a H-E-B parking lot and squeeze out. You know, I don't like doing that. And if I say had a walker, or if I had a wheelchair, or if I was just a taller person, or whatever it might be, that 1 foot can make a difference. Mm-hmm. Councilmember Fossler?
Well, and yeah, I've got several more topics too. Well, not 10 more. I've got 3 more.
Okay.
Okay. So the second one was one that Councilperson Fossler also had written down, but there was a requirement that the items in a garage sale be materially owned by the person who lives at the residence, and I can see what that's trying to prevent in terms of having, you know, a big sale of things that a bunch of people bring to it, and again, it gets out of hand for the rest of the neighborhood. I personally think that's handled by having a limit of 2 per year. So if you have a limit of 2 per year, but let them sell whatever they have, you know, including things from other people, I don't feel the need to restrict who owns the things that are sold there by leaving in place the 2 per year limit. And so anyway, that was another one that I had. The next one has to do with boats and RVs. This code says that boats and RVs cannot be parked in driveways for more than 48 hours. That would be, I think, a new thing for Bastrop. Certainly if we enforced it, it would be a new thing. As a former tournament bass fisherman, this one's important to me. You know, at the house I live in now, I actually could put boats behind the house, and they would be conforming to the code that we have now, or that's in our packets. But I like boats. I don't object to seeing them in driveways, and so making it illegal, I would prefer that we not do that myself. And I think that's a discretionary thing for the council. I mean, I could get outvoted on that, but I would like to see us keep those. And then the last item for me is in the planning and zoning rules, we passed early on a requirement that at least 3 people have some development experience so that they could better advise the planning and zoning and not end up with another B3 type output. And I almost used the word interest, that someone has some, you know, reputable interest in, or demonstrated interest, you know, in development, and that's the word that went in that code. And that word has specifically been used to neuter that particular thought that we had. And so I would like to strike the word interest from that particular 3-member requirement, because it's so open-ended. I mean, anyone could just say, oh, I have an interest in this.
Right.
And it's been used in that way. And so I would like to, that was my last item, is to strike interest from.
Well, what would you like to replace it with?
Well, no, there's several other words already there.
That work?
So, yeah, so just get rid of that word.
Okay.
And so anyway, those are the things that I wanted to bring forward. And I kind of want to see what other people have to say too on maybe these things or others. And
right. Well, as far as your garage sales, I know a lot of people tend to get together and have what they call multifamily garage sales, right? That helps increase the sales, helps, you know, people see a lot more things that cause them to stop, you know, things like that. It's been a thing of community to help each other out.
Mayor, let me just, before y'all get into a whole heck of a lot, number one, we have to extend our time past 10 o'clock.
Yes, I see that.
Number two, staff's not going to die on the hill of garage sales or boats.
Okay. That works for me.
Truly. And for parking stalls, because Fossler has 73 items on her list we're about to talk about. We have on the size, P&Z already talked about the reduction, so any action that you take tonight would be undoing what P&Z did. So just, that's an FYI. You're welcome to do whatever it is you need to do. And we don't have any issue with representation. I mean, I guess my feeling, I struggle, close your ears, Councilmember Fossler, is the realtor representation on the board. That's where I struggle the most. It's almost insider trading, it's almost insider information.
All right, well, thank you for that. Well, I'll just give my opinion on the vote and then we can move forward. No, just having that, if it's a usable boat and it's been used and not just stored, I don't see any reason in why it can't be there. People jump up and go fishing all the time around these parts. So, and not everyone has a place where they can just store a boat or store it anywhere they can go and pick it up. So having it at the convenience of their driveway, it works. So.
And if it's not workable, we have a different ordinance to address.
All right. Councilmember Meyer?
Yes, I would just like to say Mayor Pro Tem's points, I think, are very valid, and they make a lot of sense, and they're things that we should consider. So I am in agreement on that, I think, as well as the mayor and, and whoever else. But I do agree with that, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. The other question I have, we're really not going to sit here and talk about 73 items, are we? I mean, really?
A lot of her items are grammatical in nature. I think you probably have 5 or 6 substantive.
Grammaticals?
So Brittany's already said they'll address.
She's got 5, is it 5 or 6 substantive items?
Yeah, on the grammar, I mean, we absolutely want to get those things fixed, but I don't know that we need to vote on it.
No.
I noted in the PDD, it was called like PD through, like 2/3 of it was missing a D on all of those things, but that's just stuff that we...
Yeah, and Brittany said that they would correct. Yeah. She stated that in her presentation, so I don't think that's an issue.
Right, so if we need to vote, we can go ahead and vote, but also to Councilmember Foster's request, if there is something that, can we determine if there's anything that maybe we can discuss with staff after it's done? If it's, just, like I know there was a time where everything was pretty much good to go to move forward with the project, and it was a couple of words that weren't correct, and that wasn't going to prevent the project from happening. So we went on and voted, but there was the discussion to not do it because of the wording. I just don't want to be in that position.
I'm not coming in that position. I'm coming with policy discussion questions for us.
Okay.
Yeah, the edits were for them. That wasn't even supposed to make it to the screen. I don't do that. Okay, is it time for me?
Yes.
Okay. For the occupancy limitations, I don't feel the need for us to regulate humans at all. I would prefer to strike that. It just touches on like fair housing, like not regulating families, not regulating familial status. I feel like we can address that in the nuisance section. So that's how I feel on that one, but I don't know how our discussion will go. The garage sales, the 2 times a year, I would like to bring that up to 4. Like when I read through these prohibitions, I was like going through our neighborhood and mindful of how people are currently doing things, and I didn't want anybody to lose their existing uses. And there are multifamily garage sales in my neighborhood. I say one family does them probably 4 times a year, and everybody loves them. So I think 2 is too restrictive. I would like to bump that up to 4. I have a question about, the same for the resident. I'm in agreement with that, John, about the residents, the items not needing to be owned by the resident. That's not important to me. Page, can we go by the code? Page 27 of the code. The signs, it's like a lot of it is in that same section, the E. What does it mean, the display within the public view of any signs except as permitted under the city sign ordinance? This is one of these prohibitions that like changes things in town. I'm just curious, like what?
Saying you can't display signs unless it's approved by the sign ordinance.
So how would that currently change what people are doing? Like how will people be affected by that?
So it doesn't impact political yard signs. But if someone wanted to put, I don't know, 2 T-posts and a...
no trespassing?
Display to McDonald's. Yeah, just, an arbitrary sign, and, they didn't it didn't get a permit and it wasn't allowable or whatever, then
Is this to fix a problem that we're having that I don't know about?
No, so in our sign ordinance, we don't require a permit for garage sale signs or any yard sale signs or anything like that. This is just saying if it's any other type of sign, to address the sale of products or materials, it would require a sign permit.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's see, 27, the G, I didn't understand the words on that at all. The rental of any residential amenity?
like a swimming pool.
You can't rent your pool, can't rent your porch, can't rent your hammock?
So the new,
Okay.
the new fundraising is renting your pool.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Saying you can rent the pool if you rent the house.
that's
Yeah,
fine, I just didn't
altogether.
understand.
Yeah, and then you have 28,000 people at a pool party in all their cars.
I'm clear on that. Yeah, some of these were just questions. Also, the regulated vehicle, I also like, not just boats, but all regulated vehicles. Do y'all have issues with any regulated vehicles in driveways?
I don't.
I don't either. Does anybody feel like regulating regulated vehicles?
What do you mean by, like?
No, it's a definition. So, you know, like a normal car was
Right.
not a regulated vehicle, but a.
Like a project vehicle?
No,
No, there's a whole
like
definition.
boats and RVs were.
A recreational vehicle?
No,
there's
it's
a
called
whole
Just regulated, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Do you have that definition handy, or do you want me to pull it up? Just
I
so
can
they
find
can
it.
know what we're
So-
talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the definition of regulated vehicle in this ordinance refers to any motor vehicle, camper, trailer, recreational vehicle, or boats other than a conventional passenger vehicle, motorcycle, golf cart, or NEV.
So that's also like a work vehicle that's big, like a tow truck? Is all those like commercial vehicles as well?
I don't know if that would fall under that. Not based
Other
on
than
that
a
description.
conventional passenger vehicle.
I mean,
So yeah, I guess it would, a work truck.
a work truck is a passenger vehicle, no?
And again, if council wants to remove that, nobody on our staff is going to die on that hill. We have other nuisance ability.
So thank you, because I was gonna say, like, we can have these, and if it falls up under the nuisances, then we can regulate it that way,
Okay,
right? Like, if it's in there and it's big and it's overextended over the sidewalk, that's a nuisance, right? We could, but if it's 5 feet short and it doesn't go over the sidewalk in your driveway, you should be okay.
okay, so I would like to strike that third part of the parking or storing a regulated vehicle and keep the other two, so it's like not visible from public view.
I'm not following.
Is that what?
You want to allow it to be parked, but you don't want it to be visible to the public?
Well, 1 and 2 are fine. It's just if we're gonna allow them in the driveway, why the restricted hours? I'm confused about the practicality of 3, what it actually means.
So I think
for
you
people.
I think you mentioned only removing one, and you have to remove it as a group, because you'd fall into some craziness about you can only park it during whatever hours.
Yeah,
or it's gonna be-
so the
strike
hour
it.
thing says, it's basically yes, you can bring your boat to your house, but only for 2 days.
Take
And-
it away for a day and bring it back.
No, it's not take it away.
just-
No, it's, you could, like, for instance, you're planning for a big trip on Friday afternoon, so you bring the boat on Wednesday, you load everything up, and then on Friday, you leave and the boat's no longer there. So it's been there the 2 days, and you're not in trouble because of that. That's what that is intended to mean.
Too detailed.
No, but I had to,
Have in our code.
I had to think through it, but yeah, I also concur that that's one of the things that we would be getting rid of by virtue of allowing them.
Mayor, point of order. I'd like to extend the meeting to 10:30. Make a motion.
Make a motion, please.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we will extend till 10:30. Thank you, Councilmember Meyer.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, I have a few questions on the use tables. Page 31. The single-family detached. Single-family detached is a conditional use in mixed use. Is that how we want that to be? Shouldn't it just be like permitted?
So the reason single-family detached dwellings were not permitted by right in mixed use is because mixed use was intended for more higher density housing options, such as apartments and townhomes, duplexes, that sort of thing, as well as some commercial uses. It's definitely a policy decision if you want to also allow single-family detached dwellings in mixed use.
Yeah, I would be fine with it. In fact, we even discussed an example of it today in the housing discussion earlier. They have a little bit more space without single-family homes on it that they have space to put. And, you know, it would still be allowed, but they'd have to come ask for permission to do additional ones. And, I mean, I'd be fine with allowing them by right.
Cool, thanks. The other, just two down from that, is the barn dominium. Right now, they're a conditional use in single family, but they're not permitted at all in mixed use. That seems strange to me, like we could be consistent and have it
Again,
conditional.
remember that the zoning code is also an economic development tool. You wouldn't want to you wouldn't want to put things in a higher density that are lower density. You want to save that for specific areas of town. You want your higher density where we've made the investment of bigger infrastructure, bigger all of those things to have greater density, because that's where some of your major tax base is going to be. It's fine if you guys want to allow lesser things to go there, but just remember or be mindful of the long-term economic impact.
Okay, so how do y'all feel about adding barn dominium as a conditional use and mixed use to be consistent with the
I think we
single
could
family?
live with that.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Page 74. I'm almost done, y'all. I'm almost done.
I'm going to remind the council that you have several public hearings you must get through tonight because of timing. And we have an we have an attorney waiting on executive session.
Do no impact home-based businesses require permitting?
No, ma'am, they do not. Under new state laws, we cannot regulate no impact home-based businesses if they are truly no impact. So we don't require any type of permitting for that.
Okay, I think there's a place that needs to be moved from the, I'll send that to you. And then for the code of ethics, referencing our code of ethics instead of Texas local government code, do y'all want us like change all references to code of ethics to our code of, conflicts of interest to our code of ethics since it's more strict? Like, it's just like an old, outdated reference, it seems like to me.
I'm not finding the word ethics.
It's page 131 of the code.
Say it again,
Page 131 of the code, not the packet.
Okay. It'd take a lot of scrolling to get there.
I know.
What is the clarification? What is the question?
I'll get the exact words. It's like, it says, let me just get the words. So much scrolling. It says, for Planning and Zoning Commission, if any member has a conflict of interest as defined by Chapter 171 of the Local Government Code, in review of any items on the agenda, the member shall state and abstain from. It's just like a.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But our code of ethics is more strict than the local government code, so wouldn't we just replace the local government code with?
Councilperson Foster's right about this.
So go with the structure one. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Let's be as strong as we can.
So this is planning and zoning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So reference the code of ethics.
Yeah, replace that. Replace local government code. I'm good. That's it. Thank you.
So sorry, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster, for pointing out everything. Councilmember Meyer?
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on a language that was just used. Regulating humans. That's so contradictory to anything that I think this council has ever tried to do. I tried to make the statement earlier on social media. That's not true. However, my concern is affecting neighbors and residents that live in an area that are subject to the nuisances. So it's not regulating humans, it's protecting the neighbors that are there.
Yeah, I know this is a toss-up conversation. There's ways to look at it, you know, on either side. There is the thing of it is unfair to the neighbors if you have a 4-bedroom house and you have 12 people that are living in there, right? And you have 12 cars outside. If you live in Riverside Grove and you have 12 cars in one house, you're displacing the rest of the people on that street. And it's not a thing of regulating, like that sounds so terrible. Like just, I'd prefer a different kind of a word. Because when you say regulate, it's like we're trying to control. We set rules and standards for what we're going to do and how we want things done here in the city, how we want the city to look, how we want residents to live amongst each other. And I guess in a way you could say regulate, but when it comes to what we're doing to people, I'd prefer not to use that word regulate. But we have a responsibility, because at the same time, we can't have 5 houses on the same block with 4 bedrooms that have 12 people in those 4 bedrooms. That is a lot of cars. And if we have people who have kids or want to have guests or whatever it is, like it truly does displace. Now, you know, we are in a position where we have people that need housing. I can remember in 2019 specifically talking to a lot of people, and they were talking about the homeless here in Bastrop, and it wasn't a thing of people being homeless having to live on the street. They just didn't have a place to stay, so they went and stayed with their friends that they met here when they got into town, or somebody, a family member, so they were to be able to get up on their feet. But it was also a temporary thing till they were able to get on their feet. I just can't imagine, you know, how it would look, especially in the neighborhood, and I'll use Riverside Grove or even Bastrop Grove, like in those streets, with that amount of cars and people having to not be able to park close to their home because it's public parking on the street and everybody says they have that right. So it's just some things to think about. Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland, your light's still on. Do you have anything else to say?
Well, I've written down the things that Councilperson Foster said. I have the things that I had written down. We probably want to amend our motions, but at the same time, there's sort of an element of, you know, I don't know, 80% of the stuff we talked about are probably fully agreed upon just based upon the discussion. A few things are not. How would you like to suss out what we want to put in the final motion? I mean, you know, we could go down
Right.
a list and do show of hands, and then I could add it to a final motion or something.
For time's sake, that probably would take us a lot longer than what we would prefer, but I mean, I don't want to short the people of understanding what we're voting on. You seem to have an idea.
Well, I mean,
right,
in terms of time, right?
Right.
We could do something like, okay, who wants to change this? And then.
Right, so that's, yeah, I mean, I was going to say, you seem to have an idea of the 80%.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I
Right,
could probably,
and so,
you know, name the things that I think that people have
Right.
said that I could probably get 3 votes for, right?
Right.
But the occupancy one, I don't know if we would get 3 votes for that one, for instance. And so the garage sales 2 times or 4 times a year, I don't know if we get 3 votes for that. So it's if we knew the answer to that, you know, we could quickly go through a show of hands type thing.
Of course.
Here in public. Then I know how to modify the motion to something that we can pass.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay. So you want me to?
Yeah, you got the 80%.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm regulating you to do it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So on the topic of occupancy, changing the 10 limit, there was an idea with that Councilperson Plunkett mentioned, the concept that Councilperson Foster raised. How many people by show of hands would be interested in changing what's in the packet today? Okay, so that's 2. So that means we're going to leave.
So you said
Okay, so what I said was, who would be interested in changing what's in the packet right now? So the packet
Everything?
has a limit of 10
oh, this is occupancy.
on occupancy, yes. And so if we don't want to change it, then it stays 10, and we don't need to talk about it anymore. But if you do want to change it, then we need to talk about what we're going to change it to, and we're not done with that yet.
Well, how many want to change that?
Well, but I'm not sure that Councilperson Lowe understood what we were voting on, based on his question.
No, I'm just the way it was worded.
Okay, right. So on that item, we would stay with what's in the packet, which is the 10 limit. And so I think we're settled on that item now. Okay, so
yes,
no
we're
need to.
settled on that.
Okay, so
On
now.
to the next one.
Garage sales, who would be in favor of changing the maximum to 4 times per year?
Instead of 2.
Instead of 2. Okay, so we have 2.
So it just gives them once a quarter, they can get together and have a garage sale.
Okay, so that one also does not make it. Oh, did Perry raise his hand?
No, he's in favor of the 4.
Okay, so that one made it. Okay. Okay, requiring the ownership of garage sale items, who would be interested in eliminating that requirement? Yeah, the rule in the packet requires that the owner of the home must materially own most of the things up for sale.
So that's saying that your kinfolk can't come over there and sell all their stuff.
Okay, so that one, I mean, we had 3 votes.
It's mostly that you don't become a consignment shop.
Well,
Right, yeah. You're just not a business.
Right, okay.
7 days.
So that would fall under the other thing, but the
Right,
business
so
and the
then,
signs.
there was a multi-use, single-family dwelling permitted from, was it not permitted?
Change it to permitted.
Change it to.
In a mixed use.
Yeah, mixed use, I said multi-use, in mixed use.
Change it to conditional, from C to P. From C to P, from conditional to.
Conditional to permitted for single-family dwelling. Who would be in favor of that? Okay, so there's
All right.
3 for that. Okay, barndominium from not permitted to conditional use, I think is what we discussed. Okay, who would be in favor of that? Okay,
So just in the last 3 that was said, like we're not getting even across the board, so I'm not sure how this is going to fully work.
well, what I'm planning to do is that everything that I get a check mark on, I'm then going to modify my motion to include
Okay.
those things. And then we have something that we can pass tonight.
Okay, all right. And for the sake of time, also, can we get the modify?
And so then the next one is changing the conflict of interest statement to the Bastrop Ethics Ordinance for planning and zoning. All those in favor of that? Okay, so we got everybody for that one. Next one is to allow regulated vehicles, boats and RVs, basically, in driveways.
Strike all that.
Yeah, strike all of that. So we've got 4, at least 5. Okay, so we got all of that. The parking places in residential at size 10 by 20 and that they cannot block sidewalks. Yeah. I got 2. I got 4 for that. And then the last thing is to strike the word interest from the 3 members of planning and zoning. I got it, 4 or 5. Okay, so now I would like to alter my motion in the following way. We would like to allow for garage sales of 4 times per year, that the person who owns the home does not required to own most of the items in the garage sale, that single-family dwellings should be permitted in mixed use, that barndominium should be conditional use in mixed use, that the planning and zoning code for conflict of interest should refer to our own Bastrop ethics ordinance, that boats, RVs, and other regulated vehicles should be allowed in driveways. That section should be stricken. That parking places should be 10 by 20 and not block sidewalks. And that the word interest should be struck from the 3 members requirement for planning and zoning. And that's how I would like to change my motion. Councilperson Plunkett, I believe you seconded that. Do you accept those? Oh, was it?
Cynthia,
Accept.
Okay, so there we go.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it passes unanimous.
Michael, did you get all that? Excellent. Good.
All right. 9D. No, C. I know. I'm sorry. 9C. Conduct a public hearing. Consider and act on the first reading of the ordinance number 2026-07, adopted a comprehensive zoning map amendment as shown in Exhibit A, and move to include in the April 14, 2026 City Council meeting for a second reading.
All right, this one should be a lot simpler.
The
and
Cliff
quicker.
Notes.
So this is basically just the associated zoning map that needs to be adopted in coordination with the development code, and we already explained the crosswalk from place types to the new zoning district. So we're sticking with that, except for city-owned parks and city-owned floodplain will be zoning to parks and open space. Previously, they were mostly zoned civic space, which wouldn't really make sense. So here's the current place type map again, and it would transition to this map. And then this official zoning map also includes the 3 overlay districts that were proposed. And that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Kirkland.
So just for public's consumption and so that we can repeat this, this is just a like swap, correct?
Yes.
Nothing has changed, like we haven't gone up and recolored something or we're not trying to slip something in, right?
No. So going back to this chart.
Oh, no, you don't need to
Yeah,
go back to
okay.
it. I'm
Yeah.
asking you a question.
No, yes, that's true, except for the exception for city-owned parks and floodplain.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Wait a
Sorry, no,
minute.
you're right. I got ahead of us.
All right, I'm going to open up a public hearing. It is 10:16. Does anyone like to speak? Jimmy, you have, would you still like to speak on this agenda item, sir? Okay, come on up.
Jimmy Crouch, 605 Buttonwood Street. Couldn't tell on the map, on the version you had up here, if that strip along Highway 21 was still listed as residential and not transitional or mixed use. And so that's my comment, is that every highway frontage in the city of Bastrop is mixed use or commercial, except for that little strip on Highway 21. And so I would like to have y'all reconsider that if that's not changed on the map. And it came from a planning and zoning recommendation. And
Yeah, can we
anyway,
look
you
at the
just
map,
consider
please?
that.
Trying to find it myself, but.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jimmy.
To answer that question, no, they weren't changed. It's still designated as P2 rural, which would transition to rural residential. We didn't go and individually choose to rezone anything. In addition, in the future land use map, it still designates that property as more rural residential. So in order to amend the zoning district for those parcels, you need to also amend the future land use map.
Can you highlight the area on a
Like right here. I think it's 2 parcels right there, or 3.
So Brittany, is that just because of landmarks? Are we talking about like from the Roadhouse down to Highway 95?
It's on the south side of 21, that pale yellow tan.
Okay. Up the hill. See, that's a really dangerous area, though, to have as a commercial, because that's we've had, in past years when I was on PNZ, there was discussion on that, and because of the density and the traffic involved and the danger, I'm pretty sure that's makes sense to keep it the way y'all have it right now.
Well, Ms. Strick, I want to clarify, as Brittany's touched on, we kept the existing zoning footprints, the existing boundaries. We just changed the language, the definition of it. This is going to be a true zoning change that the applicant would have.
Hey, real quick, can I?
Sorry.
Let me close the public hearing.
Okay.
And then we can have a discussion.
Actually, Councilmember Meyer, it's just the opposite. When you have the ability to have multiple driveways for residential, you increase some of that. The commercial, you can force them in and out of one.
Right.
in
I'm
and
just
out of
thinking
one
of
area.
traffic. I don't know how anybody could have anything in there, honestly.
There is a giant ravine there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know why we would change it, but
Okay.
sorry. I'm
Well,
sorry.
no, we're fine. 10:20, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Okay. Now, do we have any kind of motion? And then we can have some discussion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Discussion, council members.
I would propose that we leave this as is for now because of the additional requirement to change the future land use map, which we didn't come here prepared to deal with today.
Right.
So
I think that's.
if we chose to change this in the future, that option's always available, but that we should move forward. Yeah.
All right. We have any other discussion? All right, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you, Brittany. You've been so gracious to us in delivering all of this information. Agenda item 9E, consider an act on the first reading of ordinance number 2026-09, amending the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 1, General Provision by repealing Section 1.13.05. Oh, 9D. See, I went ahead. I'm sorry, y'all. I guess I'm really trying to get up out of here. We're going to have to do a point of order here in a little bit anyway, too. So, 9D, conduct a public hearing, consider and act on the first reading of ordinance number 2026-08 to approve amendments to the subdivision regulations and codification of as Chapter 10 as shown in Exhibit A, and move to include on the April 14, 2026 City Council meeting for a second reading.
All right, so this item is also contingent on adopting the Bastrop Development Code and the repeal of the B3 code. Subdivision rules previously lived within the B3 code. However, new proposed development code does not include subdivision regulations, meaning we have to move those subdivision rules from the B3 code to the Code of Ordinances under Chapter 10. We didn't do a full review of the subdivision regulations at this time. That would be coming in the future. However, we had to do a few amendments just to remove the B3 specific terminology and references to place types. We also would be removing civic space requirements, which this was also already approved back in November 2025 to be made optional, but with this we would just remove the language altogether. Also, it removes the street tree and public bicycle parking requirements from the subdivision chapters and fixes the alley pavement width and right-of-way width inconsistency that was within the code, just to clarify the intent of it. And it removes the street cross-section illustrations as well, because they didn't align with our current transportation master plan. Those requirements didn't just go away, they do live in other parts of the ordinance. For example, the civic space approach was replaced with the Parkland Dedication Ordinance, which was adopted in March 2025. The Bastrop Development Code parking standards also do contain some bicycle parking requirements just moved out of the subdivision chapters, and the on-site landscaping requirements within the development code would replace the public street tree requirements in the subdivision ordinance. And then the street cross sections will be updated with the transportation master plan update and reintroduced later. What is not changing, we keep the same plat types and review steps, and still applies within the city and throughout the ETJ. All the requirements as far as submittal and the plat submittal checklist stays the same. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, let me know.
Council, do we have any questions for Brittany? All right, it's 10:24. Open up the public hearing. Do we have anyone that would like to speak? No. I'm closing the public hearing.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Council, do we have any more discussion pertaining to this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you. Now we're finally to 9E, and thank you again, Brittany, for providing us with everything. I didn't mean to chew you off earlier. I forgot we had one more, so. All right, 9E, consider an act on the first reading of ordinance number 2026-09, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provisions, by repealing Section 1.13.05, trees on private property, as shown in Exhibit A, and replacing it with Chapter 14, Bastrop Development Code, Article 14.06, tree preservation and mitigation, as shown in Exhibit B, and move to include on the April 14th, 2026 consent agenda for the second reading. James Cowie.
I'll be quick. Brittany's basically covered all this already. Basically, this is a quick cleanup, making one particular, just for trees. One thing we are adding is adding a preliminary tree survey for developments and properties over 5 acres in size. It kind of gives them an opportunity to give a preliminary before we go into detail. We're adding a root protection zone to protect and save existing trees, and then add credits for trees under 10-inch diameter that are preserved if they meet our species list, et cetera. So again, it's really just a language cleanup, then adding these 4 bullet points. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Doc?
Thank you.
No, it's not a public hearing.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in
Hold on
favor?
1 second, Mayor.
Well, we have any, we got some discussion. Excuse me, sorry.
Yep, so this one is the tree preservation thing. There's a statement, C, it's on page 500 of the packet. That number is huge. And it says, the fee shall not be assessed to residents if the tree is located in a property that is an existing 1 or 2 family dwelling, that is the person's residence, and if the tree is less than 10 inches in diameter. 10 inches in diameter. So what this is saying is that residents will be assessed a fee if the tree is 10 inches or larger in diameter. And I was wondering what you guys would think about striking the fee entirely for residents. I mean, the permit even, if it is a 1 or 2 family dwelling, such that you would say, this permit shall not be required of residents if the tree is located in a property that is an existing 1 or 2 family dwelling. And that is the person's residence. And if you guys don't want to do that, that's fine, but I'm just,
So,
the thing we're
I
trying.
don't understand.
Okay, so what
Can
we're
you
trying
say-
what we're absolutely trying to prevent is the situation like we had where someone bought 75 acres and leveled all the trees.
Or on Hill Street, where the resident cut all the trees down in their yard.
Oh, okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know about,
Every tree gone in the yard on Hill Street.
okay. Were there large trees in that? Okay. Okay.
I know we talked about it a lot when we went through the tree ordinance before, that, and what to do about single-family residentials.
And part of that is communication with staff. I mean, there is, we talked about during the hearings, there was a desire. Having it for anybody, I think we're setting a bad precedent and moving the wrong way.
I think we would be going backwards, actually, what we're trying to accomplish, in
Fair
my
enough.
opinion.
Fair enough. Okay, so motion to extend the meeting to 10:45.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, meeting has been extended to 10:45. Thank you, Mayor Pro
Okay.
Tem Kirkland,
So,
for that. Now-
thank you for the discussion. I think based upon what I'm hearing, I'll just withdraw my comments and we have a
We have a
motion.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, y'all, we have made it to agenda item 10A. Council will convene into a closed executive session pursuant to Texas Local Government Code, Section 5.071, to consult with the attorney regarding Pecan Street Bastrop LLC versus the City of Bastrop. It is now 10.
Excuse me, Mayor, is Councilmember Foster going to step away from this since that's her sister's development?
It's not her.
Pecan Street LLC is Sylvia,
It is, we will be discussing North End Prairie.
North End Prairie.
Hey, Steve,
City
thank you.
managers just clarified we're going to be discussing North End Prairie. Pecan Street LLC is owned by Jody Smith, who's your sister, Carrie. No, it is not.
Can you please state that you will recuse yourself?
I will recuse myself from this item.
All right, thank you.
On my form.
All right, it is 10:30. We're heading into executive session. It is 10:47. We're back from executive session.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Bastrop, for sticking with us on this long night. We'll see y'all in a couple weeks. Oh, one more thing. The Bastrop Bears soccer team advanced, and they're on to the third round. So let's go, Bears. All right. Thank y'all. Have a great night. Love y'all.